Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. It's okay here. Everything looks all right here. So here we go. Open up the websites that I like to use. The IBI. Check for some stations. We'll check just in case. Jeff Underground for parts. There's this. And Priom. PRIOM. See if anything is there. So next station in an hour for number stations. We'll have M12 Morse code number station out of Moscow. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. Just put this all down. There we go. I think this is going to be perfect. Cheers. So, hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. This is the monthly Shortwave radio show. We're here every first Saturday of the month. So today, it turns out it's the 1st of June. And of course, we are here to talk about radio, share any stories, questions, all sorts of things. Just have a lot of fun and, bring together people in what is in general a very solitary hobby. So welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and northeast part of North America. And I'm about to sneeze. And here we go. So, of course, this show is about radio of any kind. It, revolves a lot around shortwave, but it doesn't have to be just shortwave. It could be just radio of any kind, even, scanner radios and so on. As long as it's radio, we just, talk about it and have fun. So, of course, there's a beautiful chat room if you want to join in some wonderful people and just be there with all of them. And also, there's a Facebook group. So if you, long for having information about what's going on, there's quite a lot of activity on the Facebook group, people sharing what they're listening to and having a lot of fun. So it's kind of cool talking about radio of all sorts, sharing about what radios they use and the antennas, and you can ask questions. I think this is the best place for that. I mean, for anybody that's new to the hobby, I think it's one of the best groups to help out. And, we just have a lot of fun. So let's start with the chat room here. Tasso, nice to have you on board. From New York City, 83 Fahrenheit, sunny. It's about 80 here, roughly. We're roughly at the same kind of temperature and sunny here. It's like a really big, looks like a summer day. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you on board from West Michigan. David's Radio Room from Central Georgia. You can call me Al, nice to have you here. Shortwave Archive, nice to have you on board from Colorado. We have Masters Players, Radios, and Television Plus Gaming. Nice to have you here, Bobby, WA5107SWL, and Morgan City, Louisiana. We have Richard Wagner. Nice to have you on board from Northeast Illinois. Rainy day and dealing with weather-induced hip pain. That reminds me of, I don't have that, but always reminds me of my mom. She would always tell me when I was a teenager, she was like, "Oh, it's gonna rain tomorrow. My arm hurts." I was like, "Oh, okay." And usually it was a pretty good indication of weather. So hope you feel better, Richard. Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona. Brad Shaver, nice to have you here from North Illinois. Rob's radio channel, thanks for the donation. And of course, nice to have you here. We have, what do we have? Let's go down. TV DXer, nice to have you here. Salut, ça va bien. J'espère que tu vas bien. Toi aussi. What do we have? Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you on board. Chuck N5 KVO from South Texas. And we have Tarek, nice to have you here from Cairo, Egypt. Nice to have you on board from the Great Pyramids. VA3 JPX, nice to have you on board. We have DX Swinger, nice to have you on board in Southeast Pennsylvania. We have Mike WX50, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. And going down slowly. Tasso feeling a bit under the weather, dealing with a cold. Otherwise, all is well. Thanks for asking. And we have Archer's Autocrafters Kitchen and Audio Lab from Massachusetts. Nice to have you here. James Farley, nice to have you on board from Old Bridge, New Jersey, KD2GUZ. We have Jean Arrache. Salut, j'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you here. Keegan DXer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. We have Ricky, nice to have you here. J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Nice to have you on board from Alberta, Canada. We have Don Royal, nice to have you on board, WA7330SWL. And has there been any more updates to the LC90? I'm going to talk a little bit about it more in the coming minutes. I got it here, actually. It's hooked up to my MLE30. 57SW, nice to have you on board. Brent, nice to have you here. VE3G GDA. Wow, that's a hard one. VE3GXD, nice to have you on board. From Brockville, Ontario, Canada. Doing pretty well. I hope you are well too. Been a long time. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board from the Azores. He's got not from the Azores. He's working the Azores on 6-meter FT8 from Virginia. Pretty cool. Should maybe check FT8 on 6 meters. Last time I got 6-meter opening was about 2 weeks ago, and I made contacts all the way down to Chile and Argentina, which was really, really cool. I mean, that's a pretty great distance for 50 megahertz. Mike WX50 says that today is a closing day of his hometown Radio Shack after being in business since 1972 in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Well, that is a sad time. That is a sad time. Glenn, nice to have you on board from South Carolina. And we have Highlander 498 Video Gates. Nice to have you here. Tarek says Radio Cairo was celebrating the 90th anniversary on the 31st of May. Wow. 90th anniversary. So sad that we can't really have anything on the air that's, decent to listen to, because it'd be fun to listen to that. I'm sure they might have had some special programming for that, I would guess. Blog or Die. Yes, that's true. It's the app. It's the National Yellow Radio Day. I need to. Do I have a yellow radio close by? I need to have one. Yes, I have one just in front there. I'm going to go to get it. Going to have to check that out. Robert Varner, nice to have you here. KC2TEL in New Jersey. Tasso, how's Paul the cat? Pretty good. He's it's summer, so likes going outside. And he's got a new friend, which is a cat called Marcus, and which is like the fourth or fifth neighbor, and he comes over from time to time. And every time Paul sees him, it's like, well, we're gonna go and meet up. So they meet up in the neighbor's yard. And last night I was surprised. I was looking in the neighbor's yard at 1 a.m. When I was listening to a little bit of radio outdoors, and I thought it was a cat first. Then I took my flashlight, and no, there was 5 raccoons actually in the neighbor's yard. Like, well, okay, I've seen a couple of raccoons, but now 5, more than I've seen before. And it's funny because last year the raccoons came up to the balcony here, and I have the security camera in the back. And the funniest thing is that on the security camera, I saw them go up while Paul the cat was sleeping on the balcony. They just went around Paul like nothing happened. Paul looked up and said, "Oh, okay," and he kind of went back to sleep. And then the raccoons went back down, like they were friends or something. They like obviously knew each other or something. There was nothing happening. It was just funny to see. Grandpa Piper Mike, nice to have you here from Sweden, Mike. Nice to have you on board. Zbruch66, nice to have you on board from Ukraine. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Steen Vernon, nice to have you here from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. RJ Dakota, nice to have you here, and also says Happy National Yellow Radio Day. So if you guys have a yellow radio, better take it out. How many yellow radios do I have? I have at least one there. I've got another one there, so I've got 2, at least 2, from what I can see quickly. So kind of fun. Vienno Marcel, salut. J'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you here. Kevin, nice to have you on board. Says he picked up a serious case of food poisoning last night. I've been sleeping since 10 p.m. last night with nausea. Never felt this bad in my 60 years. Wow. Got to be careful, man, and take care of yourself. I've had some serious food poisoning maybe like 15 years ago. Oh, man, I felt bad. It was almost a case of hospital. It was just so crazy. So just take it easy, man, and make sure that everything's all right. Drink a lot of water and rest. Shortwave Archive. Has anyone else been listening to the English broadcast from NHK Japan on 11815 from 14 to 1425 UT? Brings a good signal into Colorado. Here at that time, usually pretty much anything from Asia is gone from the bands on 25 meters, especially now that we're almost at summertime. So, Jean Arash, with regards to call signs, what is the difference between VA2, VE2, and VE3? Does it have to do with the province where the license was issued? So, first of all, the number tells you which province. So, VE2 or VA2 is Quebec. VE3 will be, or VA3 will be from Ontario, and the VE4 will be from Manitoba, and then Saskatchewan, and V5. Then you have the Alberta V6. So we have British Columbia V7, New Brunswick V9, and so on. And so, yes, the number will tell you where they are from and which province or territory. And as for the VA and VE, It simply has to do with the fact that for a long time we had VE. Sometimes we have VO, like you could have a VO station out of Newfoundland, a VO1. Um, and so for a long time it was VE. Then we kind of almost ran out of VEs. So they added VA to add more call letters to have enough for the new amateur radio operators that would come over. And that you choose. So, like for me, which is VE2, ZZI, um, the VE2 or VA2, you have no choice. I'm in Quebec, so you get the prefix that goes with the province of Quebec, Canada. But the VE or VA you can choose from. You go into the database and you see what's available. Basically, when you get your license, there's a database of available call signs. You go through them. I did not want to have a VA for some, it was for me, it was like, no, I want to have a VE, which is kind of more the original call signs. It's just, a VA is fine. I mean, a lot of hams have VA. But I looked around and VE2 was the one I wanted. Then I found ZZI that I found was like kind of catchy. So that's pretty much it. But it's mostly the number. The number will tell you which province or territory. John in Tampa, Florida. Nice to have you on board. Keegan DXer says the same Radio Shack in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I got my Ethan Grundy Edition Field B2 in January 2019, and Sanjian HDR 14 in November 2020. So it's sad to see that it's going away. I went downtown last week, actually on Monday, and went to a big place downtown that used to have a Radio Shack, which became the source now. And I went in just to see what they had, but it's like it's boring. It's smartphones, TVs, and they pretty much want to sell you a smartphone more than anything else. There's no more gadgets, no more anything unusual or interesting. It's sad. Dan V, nice to have you here from Ohio, and 8WJZ. Robert Varner, nice to have you here. Yeah, raccoons, lots of raccoons. RJ Dakota says, I had to bury my old 20-year-old cat yesterday. It's still very sad and painful because it's still anticipating seeing her there. Sorry. Just doing what I can to keep busy and not think about it so much. Yeah. It took me with Mignon, which wasn't technically officially, well, it was my cat, but it wasn't officially like Paul the cat. I mostly took care of her because I didn't want her to be outside in winter, abandoned. When she died in January, I found it tough. And I was thinking, wow, if I find it tough with her, I can't just imagine when the time comes for Paul the cat, it's going to be horrible. And so, yeah, take care and take the time to grieve. I mean, you got to take the time also. It is always a sad event. What else do we have? So WF 7i Ombre says that CU2AP and CU2DX still blasting to the East Coast. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jim Gordon, nice to have you here from Scotland. Conditions are returning to normal after the recent solar flares. Nice to have you on board, Jim. So the sunspot that gave the huge geomagnetic storms of May 10th, 11th, as return, which it was numbered AR 3664. Now it's numbered AR 3697, I believe, because they changed the numbering. But back in the day, the numbers that they give the sunspots, what happens is back in the day they didn't have an idea what if a sunspot that would show up was a returning sunspot from the month before. And so what happened is that they would give them a new number every time. So they're continuing with that, but it's we know now today that it's the same sunspot, but it's not as big as it used to be, but it still did a couple of X flares, which is very powerful. Blogger Die, been listening to my very yellow Hanrongda HRD 701 today. Cool. Yeah, food poisoning is horrible. So Archer's Autocrafter's Kitchen, only yellow radio I have is Sony Sports Boombox. I bought it new in 1987. Wow. Ricky also hears the NHK 11815 at 14 UT in Calgary, conditions permitting, of course. So here I would guess the best time that I would probably hear NHK will be when summer starts fading away, like in August. August and towards September, before the schedule change in October. That will be probably a possibility for me. It's usually, I'll be checking it out if I hear North Korea. If I hear North Korea in 110710, I'll be trying NHK and 11815. But that deep summer period now, that we're like June, July, up to mid to late August, is the period where that is not going to come in much here on the East Coast. Michael, nice to have you on board. We have VT Radio. Nice to have you here. Paul, AA1SU, checking in from Northern Vermont. Talking in Northern Vermont, we have something that might disrupt the reception of WVPS on 107.9. So here in southern Quebec, WVPS is the Vermont Public Radio station, packs a pretty good signal into the Montreal area in southern Quebec. And actually, the Vermont Public radio station actually does a lot of its funding, knowing that a lot of Canadians are going to actually give some money when they do their funding drive. And I am one of those that gave a few times to donate to help them continue. And we learn, and we're going to talk about it on the International Radio Report show tomorrow, that a new station in Joliette, Quebec, is going to get on the air on 107.9 with 25 kilowatts of power. So that's going to be a 25,000 watt signal from Joliette, which will probably make it up to Montreal at that power. And that could mess up the Vermont radio listening. So we don't know yet what date they're going to be on the air, but that's going to be very interesting. And there's no protection for FM stations. On AM, in the medium wave band, you have the protection that goes with clear channels. So there's clear channels in the United States and clear channels in Canada, which give them a good coverage and no interference from the other country. But on FM, that doesn't exist. So unless that station is powerful enough that it interferes with US listeners, there's nothing that can be done. Even if you complain about the fact that it's blocking WVPS, the CRTC here in Canada is going to say, we don't care about that. WVPS is a US station, not a Canadian station. So that's going to be kind of sad. Carol, W7WXV, good afternoon from Oregon. Nice to have you here. QNDX has got 2 yellow radios, a Sony Walkman AM/FM tape player with dark gray color, and a WeatherX AM/FM weather band hand crank radio with AC plug for charging. So cool. That's Jim. Nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Robert Varner says, "Rest in peace, Radio Shack. Gone but not forgotten." Nope, they indeed. And I mean, how many of us started with a radio that they purchased at a Radio Shack outlet? I mean, a lot of us. Zeebrook says here in Ukraine we have frequent power outages after Russian missile destroyed partly of our power infrastructure. Only one benefit from this is that less interference for radio waves. Yeah, but still, it's a sad situation there, and I mean, I hope you guys can hang on as long as possible, and hopefully this could come to an end at some point. It's nice to have you here. Ricky, it's silly how everyone wants to sell phone plans. I went to buy ink for my printer this week, and upon paying, I was asked to do a cell phone assessment in exchange for a $10 rebate, which I declined. Yeah, I don't want to. It's like every time I go to one of those places, and they're like, "Oh, well, we can." We can't, we can do something about that plan that you have. Tell us what you got. It's like, no, I don't want to change. I've been with the same carrier for 26 years now. So I'm happy. And I've got a plan that I think is great. So, leave me alone. If I want to change company, I'll do it on my own. I don't need you to tell me. Chicopee Radio 2009. Nice to have you here from Otis, Massachusetts. Penny C, nice to have you here. Been listening to the International Radio Report these last few weeks. I enjoy the interesting topics. Thank you so much. Well, tomorrow we're going to have some more interesting topics, lots of interesting stuff. We will start with the story about that 25 kilowatt station that will probably cause interference with WVPS for sure. Logbook of the World's still down. VT Radio. I mean, they got hacked, and I'm curious as to see what happened. Did they get ransomware? Apparently, from what a lot of people know. I mean, how come it's not back up and running? I mean, it's mysterious. I find it very mysterious. Blogger Die have an old yellow AM/FM radio, a Windsor all-weather, water-resistant FM antenna is coiled up piece of wire inside. Got it out today, so pretty cool. It's awful. Got 2 stations. Yeah, some of these radios. I mean, it's like what did I take out the other day? I took out the realistic patrolmans, and boy, I mean, those were the radios I had back. Like back then, I had that radio, which was my first, pre-scanner days for UHF, VHF stuff. But when you compare that to today's, even the cheapest scanner radio today performs 1,000,000 times better than that old radio. It's just crazy when you think about it. Richard Myers, nice to have you here from South Daytona. Nice to have you on board, Rick. KO4OSA and WA4269SWL and WPE3JFM. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Carol W7WXV took an X-Class flare earlier today. The handbands are terrible. Yeah, but usually the flares only affect the bands for about an hour. There must be something else. Probably the K index might have started moving up. They were expecting a geomagnetic storm possibly today. If we look at the K index right now, it's rather quiet. 1. So K1. Band shouldn't be too bad, actually. The X flare that happened today is much earlier, so the effect of that is pretty much gone. So we'll see we'll see the week also, because there's 2 sunspots that are pretty active right now. What else do we have? Shortwave archive a few days ago at 0408, Radio New Zealand turned off their transmitter, then began broadcasting in DRM mode. I last checked the frequency at 0450 was still in DRM. Yeah, they do have some DRM. What they do actually, they have some DRM. What they actually do is they're not intended for the standard listener. What they do is they send DRM, and in the islands in the Pacific, there's DRM receive stations that change that to put it on FM analog stations on the different Pacific islands where they are broadcasting. So yeah, from time to time they do DRM. Mike WX50 should be receiving a new MLA30 today. The one I have now has taken a lot of weather, plus me driving over the cable with the lawnmower. I fixed it, but figured I'd just get another new one. Yeah, and the unfortunate things that can happen. WF7 Ion Brew, your says Europe. Oops, I just clicked on the wrong direction. Now working some East Coast US, so it's pretty crazy. Jim Gurren says, anyone wish to comment on the Reticus 919 and the various other makers 919s? They have been attracting quite a lot of attention. The radio certainly looks interesting. Yeah, there's a couple of interesting radios recently that I should be checking out what we could do to have some. The big problem right now here, and that's why I've been kind of going slow on radios, is that the the Canadian dollar being so bad, radios are costing a fortune here in Canada right now, and a lot of them are not that easy to find. I look at some of them that you guys find easily in the US, even on Amazon, and are not available here in Canada, even through Amazon. And of course, if you want to buy it through Amazon US, it's completely nuts because the radio gets you to a price that's just not worth it. You know what I mean? Like the quarter sang radio that a lot of you are talking about seems to be interesting, but I mean, I the lowest price it gets me with plus the taxes I have to pay, the lowest price this radio gets me is like something like 300 Canadian dollars. I'm not paying that for a portable like that that doesn't even have single sideband. A lot of you are saying, well, it's pretty good, especially on medium wave, long wave, and all of that. But I can't justify paying that amount of money. It's like I would have to find maybe the maker, where they made the Kodashang radio, and ask them and say, hey, can you send me one like I did with the Shoyang LC90 radio? So, hey guys, I'm gonna have to take a break because nature's calling and it's calling good. So we're gonna have to take a little break. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'm sorry, guys. we are back. I'm going to turn on the computer and check for the possibility of some 6-meter activity. See if we can hear anything here from. I've never heard Europe on 6 meters, so who knows? Maybe. Okay, so Jim's radio check. Nice to have you here. Yeah, they're expecting a possible G2 class storm. Right now, things are rather quiet. Yeah, the shortwave archive. Unfortunately, a lot of shortwave broadcasters have changed their format to what is more of the local broadcasting rather than having a specific shortwave outlet like he used to. And it's it's still there, and there could be some interesting stuff there, but it isn't the same as having a dedicated program for the international audience that they have. In French also it's pretty much the same. UTV and Ham, KD9 WNV, nice to have you here from Wisconsin. John, Tampa, Florida says Radio Shack was my very first. Carol says, I'll never forget Radio Shack. I have 15 feet of antenna pole holding up my GP98. Michael Holland, nice to have you on board from Florida, KI4BPR. TV Radio 72, nice to have you here. Michael from New Jersey. Quite a few yellow radios, including the Ethon FR200. That's more of a yellow-orange. Yeah, mine is red. I have one of those, but mine is red colored. But I remember I had a choice of they had a choice of color. I think it was a blue. This was a blue and orange, a red, and a gray or something like that. I had chosen the red one, but I was tempted with the blue. I'm not sure. I think I couldn't get the blue because it was out of stock or something. Storms, Radios, and Cats, nice to have you here. We have Art Dodd from New Jersey, K2ADC, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? So Don Royal, nice to have you here. What will I check out? What else do we have? Michael Holland says, I am the responsible for him buying and loving 7 radios since 2021. Yes, unfortunately. So what else do we have? Ken, nice to have you here. How does the Radiair F119 compare to some of your other portables and desktop radios? I don't know because I don't have one, so I can't really say anything about it. James Radio check. Reception in my area has been terrible for a month now. I can't receive any DX on medium wave tonight. Yeah, well, summertime is usually not the best for DXing on medium wave too. But there were certainly some nights where with geomagnetic storms that were pretty tough. I saw my first auroras in Montreal in more than 20 years on May the 10th. It was kind of interesting because it coincided with the Winter Shortwave Festival, and it's kind of it was kind of interesting because we were following the extreme geomagnetic storm, and I ended up taking pictures of auroras that night from here in my backyard. So they have to be really bright to get that level. It was pretty amazing. T Radio 72 in the US, we have quite a few low power FM translators that interfere with some other of the larger FM stations, making it hard to DX. Keegan DXer, triple decking will likely make the code channel interference to WVPS on 107.9 worse. Yeah, that is possible. That is possible. Jean Arash, about the new station in Joliette. It's Arsenal's second station in the same market. They'll have a country format. Yep, French. It's a French language station with country music. So, Chris66, nice to have you here. What else do we have? RG Dakota, last night I couldn't find medium stations from Northeast USA. 32 bits, nice to have you here, says 15580. Has the English music station playing here in the UK. Well, that's Voice of America. 15580 is Voice of America from Botswana. Sheila Alessa, nice to have you here. Sheila from Belleville, Ontario. Penny C was wondering if there was any update on the 200 feet stolen antenna tower. No, it's been quiet. You know, I still think it's a stunt or some kind of fake story to try to raise money. How can a 200-foot tower disappear with nobody noticing? Sounds weird. Radio Kid. Darn, none of my radios are yellow. Now I have an excuse to buy another radio. Yeah, you got a yellow one now. And imagine if they do one for each color every month. Like there's going to be National Radio Green Radio Day and Blue Radio Day. And it's going to be, you're going to have to buy a lot of them. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here from Colorado. Not going to stick around much. A busy day, but I want to say hello. Hopefully next month, the first Saturday will be free for me. Have a good show. Thanks, Matt. Nice to have you here. As always, as we're talking about shows, two things I want to talk about. So the next show, of course, it's always the first Saturday. So you guys just look at the first Saturday in your calendar. Next month, we will end up being Saturday, July the 6th. So that's going to be that. Also, I want to say the Zoom meeting for those that are contributing to the channel by doing a donation is going to be in 2 weeks, June 15th, and it's going to be at 20 hours Universal Time. And I might be outside. I'm going to check it out. I might be setting up outside, and we'll be talking radio and trying to tune around together and just have fun. So anybody that did donations are in the list already. Everybody that will do donations now or from now until June 14th, just the day before, you'll be in the list. I just make sure I got your email. You can donate through here. There's the super chat where you can donate something, or even better, PayPal, because of the low fees. You can send a PayPal donation to this email, and this is, and if I don't have your email, you can either through the PayPal donation just put a little comment with the email, your email in it, so I have it, or you can just send your email to my my Shortwave channel email, which is officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. So thanks for those that donate. It helps me continue. It helps me also get new radios when possible, when they're not hyper expensive. And hopefully you enjoy the content here. And we have our show, of course, our free show for everybody on the first Saturday of each month. KB1 PPJ. It's been a while. Bands are dead here in Rhode Island as well. Live shortwave show, next best thing. Jean Arash says there's also a community station in Joliette that had a change of transmitter site approved. CFNJ will go HD soon. Carol says DREP is high. I checked the X-ray flux. We just had a double peak solar flare. So things are happening on the sun. Definitely. I usually, what is this? There's this flying bug that annoys me. I have an app also on my phone which warns me like almost instantly when there's solar flares and anything new happening. Also, solarham.net often has quick. So let's check solarham.net here. Because on 15580, I barely am getting Voice of America. Usually I get it pretty well. So it's a tough one. Solarham.net has been having a lot of issues with connectivity lately. It's a tough one to get some days. Like right now, it doesn't want to connect. So I'm just going to check 6 meters, guys, because I'm curious with what we're getting as information for our friend here. I'm going to start the FT8. And I'm going to go on 6 meters, and we're going to go check what 6 meters, if anything on 6 meters here, out of curiosity. Tasso, same here, no yellow radios. At first, I bought my XH Data D608 weather band, but it's more of an orange color. Well, even if it's close to orange color, it's yellow. Blogger Die, frankly, I don't know yellow radio that I would recommend. The best one, I guess, is the XH Data D608 the weather band, but it's hard to tune without buttons. Yeah, same here. I got the one I have here. I'm going to go and fetch it here. And once again, we're calling it yellow, but it's kind of orange. So this is the one, which is the XH, which was this? This is a Reticus? I think it's a Reticus model. Trying to find what model it is exactly. Doesn't say. Yeah. What about the back? Up, down. I don't know what brand it is. I talked about it, but I think it's a Reticus. I'm not sure. I don't see the brand anywhere here. So, anyways, this is the one I got that was there. There's another one which is an AM/FM crank radio. This I can't really recommend much. It's awful to tune around. I can tell you that. It's not really what I would recommend to anybody. So let's just check out FT8 6 meters just out of curiosity. 50 megahertz. There we go. So I'll leave it low volume and see if I can hear anything here. On 6 meters. Okay, Christopher Cullen, nice to have you here from North Wales. Great show as always. Have you checked out the Quansheng UV99 with the full HF mod and firmware? It's a pretty good value and making one of the cheapest. I haven't checked it out. I've seen it, but I haven't checked it out. But yeah. So Don Royal does not have any yellow radios. Canyon Prairie Shortwave, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Blogger Die. You know, if that be the price here in Canada, I'd buy it. When I go to Amazon US, it says unavailable for me. So I don't know, there's something that's not making it sold to Canada for some reason. And the only places that I see it when it's available, it comes out to like 175 Canadian plus the shipping, plus I'll have to buy the taxes. It's like, okay, forget it. Because I mean, at that price, I probably would have one already and would have reviewed it. But man, it's crazy. There's these weird things happening with what we get and don't get. VT radio WVPS is 49 kilowatts ERP, so you might still hear them. Don't know how far Joliet is from you. I would say probably close to equal distance. I'd have to look on a map, but I'd say it's probably equal distance from Joliet to Montreal, and from Montreal to WVPS, I believe, is on Mount Mansfield. So, which is a pretty good place to transmit. So, hopefully, it's still going to make it here for sure. playing Jeopardy in the chat room. What else do we have? Tony Marconi. Here we have a pizzeria. We have a pizzeria that's called Marconi. Nothing to do with electronics, but one of the best pizzas around. James Farley, has anyone modified an AM200 loop to do shortwave? Not that I know. It's a question of tuning. So it's a question of changing the resonance of that circuit and see if it would work. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see one, or it'd be interesting to somebody to have. Well, there are some, but like an equivalent to the AM200, they should make an AM300 loop for shortwave and see how it goes. I mean, it's a passive loop. Ricky's got one yellow radio in his collection, a Sony AM/FM cassette sports Walkman from goodness knows how long ago. Yeah, the good old, that was the standard, the Sony yellow Walkman. Everybody wanted one of those back in the day. Pretty amazing. Oldfart, is Texan H01 good for listening to USB and lower sideband? Going to order one. Yeah, it has a flaw in the highest frequencies, though. If you like tuning 10-meter band or like 15 meters and above, I probably would tell you to buy something else. If you do not go up there and you tune the rest of the band, it's great. I don't know. You look around. I have a hard time justifying any purchase of a Texan H501, although I own one. I like it. I still find that, you get good mileage from a much cheaper radio that does great, like a Texan PL330. WSI Obru just worked EA3A in Spain. So here, if I look at my screen, the only DX I've got, I got two stations, VE3VN and KA9 Fox. And now I just got K4TJA. So not a lot, not transatlantic DX on 6 meters, but there's a little bit of opening to the United States. Got a few stations on 50 megahertz. Reader Kid, forgot the Sony Walkman. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's in a drawer. Man, I don't know how many of those Sony sold, but that was the hot item in the 80s. Everybody wanted one of those. That's for sure. RJ Dakota says, I have a white PL880. The regular black Texan 880 wasn't available, but a white or red was. I took the white one. Cool. Michael Allen, very grateful for this amazing channel. Well, thank you very much. So YouTube is glitchy sometimes. There could be, if somebody somewhere has glitches. Here I have indicators that tell me my connection to YouTube, and they're all green, which technically should be fine. But sometimes YouTube, and sometimes it could be isolated to one part of the world also. Storms, radios, and cats. Yes, Northern Lights were beautiful here in central Kentucky. Imagine seeing them from my QTH, where this valley is very dark at night. Wow. I was just imagining if I could have had that evening go to some really dark place. Oh, man. Tristan, nice to have you here. Good evening from a chilly Newfoundland. I can send you a little bit of heat if you want. We're at close to 85 Fahrenheit here. So I can send you a little bit of heat if you want. Not too much, but just enough to warm you up. Michael Holland, New Sunspot Region AR 3700, just listed and active according to Space Weather. Miji, nice to have you here. Gord, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls. VE3BEE. I still remember when I went to Niagara Falls back in 2008. RJ Dakota says, I saw just dimly the aurora. It was there, just very dim. Yeah, that's the here in Montreal, it was you had to focus because here, I mean, light pollution is crazy bad. You had to focus, and you could see that there were, some red and some green, and it was like moving slightly, but you had to focus. But the phone was great because when I took my phone could see it real well. I didn't even have to take a picture. Just pointing my phone's camera in the sky, the screen was showing me the auroras way better than what I could see with my own eyes. So it was really, really cool. Blugger Die is on the Missing Antenna Patreon group. They suggest that the ground will be dry enough to replace the antenna soon. Huh. Okay. It's going to be interesting. It's a GoFundMe. Okay. Yeah, this was a GoFundMe they did. Michael Holland predicting between June 4th and 6th, the next major aurora borealis. We saw the May 10th event during a Starlink satellite pass. Shortwave Archive says heard a very weak voice from Voice of America from Botswana 4930 last night, 0300 in Colorado. That's cool. That reminds me of the good old days of, DXing the tropical bands on 60 meters. Jim's radio check. My long wire antenna was covered with cicadas. Here we get them in August. Radio Kid, found a Walkman. WMFS421, black, silver, and yellow. Could only find Panasonic headphones for their size. Those Sony Walkman tuners really aren't too bad. I have, and I need to take it out again. I have a Panasonic. So I had the Sony Walkman, which I used so much that I wore it off, and it broke down in late 80s. Sorry, guys. So I had to buy a new Walkman, and I had a new job in 89. I had a new job in 89. And so, of course, for commute, I wanted to have a Walkman. I needed a Walkman. And I purchased a Panasonic, not a Panasonic, a Sanyo. A Sanyo, which had auto reverse. And man, that thing was bad. It cost me a fortune, and it didn't last long. I think after a year and a half of use, it's already broken. It was like a piece of crap. Actually, Sanyo, anything I purchased from Sanyo was a piece of crap. I've never liked that brand. I always preferred Panasonic. For me, Panasonic was a good brand, and still is pretty much today. I sometimes on some things I'm not brand loyal, but I replaced my microwave maybe 2-3 years ago, and the other one was a Panasonic, and it was almost 30 years old. So I thought, man, I got 30 years out of this one. I'm buying another Panasonic. and I bought a new Panasonic. I think I bought it at Walmart. Actually, I rarely buy things at Walmart, but they had a good price. I was like, okay. And I mean, it's been what 3 years, works great. And the Panasonic for me, if I have that choice in buying something, I will buy a Panasonic device for sure. Yeah, I need a yellow microphone. That'd be good. I need to have one. Um, Let me just get back into where we were. Okay, here we go. Okay, Blackadai, Jill, that radio you have there is a Mescool CR 1019 Pro. Okay, I know it's not that brand name, but I remember the CR 1019. Yes, but it was another brand. It was not that brand, but they're all the same radios. I mean, they come out with like 5 different names, but I remember the CR 1019. So Dr. Ashi Joshi says Koda Sang DX286 is out now. Yeah, CR910, yeah, something like that. The blogger die. I remember that it starts with CR and that number. RJ Dakota says Spain comes in well in Winsville, playing sports. Jasmine, nice to have you here from Seattle. Keegan DX or pizzeria, a place called Marconi. Sounds like that should include Marconi on their menu. Macaroni on their menu. Yeah. Well, they don't. They have lasagna. They have stuff like that, but it's mostly they have um, submarines. They have lasagna. They have tons of sorts of pizza, and that's almost it with fries. It's been there since like 1950s. It's around here. It's the place everybody knows because it's the place that if you want a good pizza and you don't know where to order, you order from Marconi Pizza, and it's going to be good. Nice to have you here from India. Thank you so much. Michael Holland listening to 17907 New York Radio on his County Com GP7 SSB. Yeah, that's around that frequency range. I think it was 17952, if I'm not mistaken. That like 7 or 8 years ago, I had my D expedition to Perry Island and came to a phone patch of of an airplane. Somebody on board had a heart attack, and they were doing phone patch with a doctor. Man, it's always when you get into the middle of some emergency like that, it's like you feel like you're part of it. It's just amazing what you can listen to on the bands. Okay, what else? So our friend in India just got his Texan R9700 DX from Anonco, Hong Kong. Good analog radio. Yeah, it's getting good reviews. Are those worth a lot of money, like old iPods? If you have a good one, a good working one, probably not. It probably fetches a decent amount of money. KW1161, nice to have you on board. Richard Meyer says, ironic, KA9 Fox was my first amateur QSO on 6 meters from Florida. He's very active. I see him every time there's an opening. I think he's there all the time. It's crazy. Al, nice to have you on board from a beautiful day in Long Island. SARM's Radios and Cats had the Sony AM FM Radio Walkman SRF 22W Blue. Man, that thing was a DX monster on AM with fresh batteries. those radios back in the day, even like AM FM radios, most of them were like pretty good. I can't recall any device that had an AM FM radio in the 80s that wasn't good. It was like, you know, they were all doing very, very well. Today we got some crappy stuff, AM FM. James Jim's radio check. The last solar storm, we could see the northern lights here in the west suburbs of Chicago. Michael Holland want to upgrade to general, but all the equipment is too expensive. So I'll stay technician and just be loyal shortwave listener to a lot of nets I listen to in the mornings and evenings. Yeah, well, you can look at used equipment sometimes. Ham radio doesn't have to be, you don't have to buy the latest, greatest. You could maybe go to a ham fest and find a decent, transceiver from Kenwood or ICOM that somebody wants to depart from with, not too expensive. And you can, go to that, use that, higher license. I have that little urge sometimes to maybe go get my advanced license here in Canada. I'd like to set up a couple of things. I actually would love to set up a automated beacon on 10 meters that you guys could, go through and try to DX and maybe even have like a QSL just dedicated to the beacon. I'd like to set that up, but I'm not sure. I think to set up such a thing, I have to be an advanced amateur here in Canada. You can't do it with my level of license, from what I believe. But I'd love to have one in a 10-meter beacon, just like humming away in Morse code, and that you guys could DX, try to DX, like a couple of watts, 5 watts or something. Robert Varner never got married, so never got to Niagara Falls. Yeah, well, I never got married for that reason. I went to Niagara Falls in 2008. The story behind it, sorry, it's not related to radio. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which I loved. I had all their albums and Tom Petty's albums, and they never would come to Montreal. But they would always go to Toronto. So the funny story about it is I was with one of my best friends on the phone, and it's 2008. I'm feeling a little off because it's the year my mom died, and I thought something unusual and distracting could be fun. So my friend and his brother are big fans of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So we're on the phone, and he starts telling me, "Oh man, it'd be fun if we could go to see Tom Petty in Toronto." And I knew that he was on vacation at that date. So while we're talking, I go online and I check for tickets and purchase 3 tickets. Me, my friend, and his brother. So while we're talking, I say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to Toronto to see Tom Petty." He says, "Yeah, right." I says, "Yeah, we have to. I just purchased the tickets." He's like, "Are you serious?" "Yeah, I just purchased the tickets. We're going." So as we're talking, I'm continuing, and I say, "Oh, by the way, I just booked the hotel." So in like 30 minutes, we got the hotel for all 3 of us, and we've got Tom Petty tickets. So it's like, okay. But he was on vacation. I was in a moment where it's like, I got some time off, and I got a little bit of money from my mom when she died. So it's like, I could do something unusual and, spend that money and doing something fun that I would like to. So he calls me back and he says, "Okay, well, my brother called back." He says, "Since you decided we're going to Toronto to see Tom Petty, he decided we're going to Niagara Falls after, because he wants to see that, and he's never been." So I'm like, "Yeah, what the heck? Let's go." So we went. We got. I'm trying to remember the days, but it's like I think we got to Toronto on the Monday or something. We got into our hotel, booked into our hotel at, like, it was late at night. We departed from Montreal at 10 in the morning. I think we got to Toronto as, we stopped to eat. We stopped all sorts of places. So we got to Toronto, it was like 10 p.m. And so, of course, my friend's brother was the driver the whole way. So he was tired. So first thing he said, he says, "I'm going to bed." It's like, yeah, fine. And I looked at my friend and I said, "I'm in Toronto. It's 10 p.m. I don't want to sleep now. So we are going out and visiting Toronto." So we went that. The next day we went to the concert, which was just amazing. Um, Funny story about the concert is, here in Montreal, bars close at 3 a.m. In Toronto, if it's still like that, most of what was open with alcohol closes at midnight. So for a Montreal guy, that's unacceptable. So what happens is that we got out of the concert and it was like 11 p.m. We sit down on a terrace of a bar, and the guy looks at it and says, "Guys, this is last call." And I'm like, "What is this city? Last call at 11 p.m.? So boring." So my friend looks at me and says, "My brother brought booze in the bags in the hotel room. So let's just go back to the hotel room and make drinks." It's like, yeah, sure. Okay. And then the next day we got to get up real early because we had parked in a place where we had to take the car out of there before 8 a.m. or else we'd be towed. So it's like, okay, so we got we got to bed at 4 in the morning. No, that's not what we did. We drank and then stopped drinking maybe at 3 and took it easy. Talk, talk, talk. Then it's 5 a.m. Friend looks at me and says, "So I guess we're going to go to sleep for a couple of hours." I said, "Nah, we'll be all messed up. Better stay up to 8 a.m. Change the car from where it is to another spot, and then come back and sleep, part of the day." And it's like, yeah, okay, sure. So, and then later, then I think it's the next day, we packed. We went to Niagara Falls, which I love to it's the I mean, the falls themselves are just amazing to watch. And we had fun there, and we went to those little like, these like museums or whatever, these that are like, pretty, I don't know how to put the words, but like, kind of silly, but let's just visit. And then we came back. Anyways, that was the story. Sorry, I was out of shortwave here, but we had a lot of fun. um RK MKLZ says, "Last night on AM medium wave band was dead. Did this happen due to the solar flares?" The solar flares themselves, when you get into the night, is not what affects the medium wave band. The medium wave band is much more affected at night by the geomagnetic storms that could happen. So there must have been some active geomagnetic conditions last night, and that quiets the bands really, really a lot. But don't don't stop listening. When the bands are dead due to any geomagnetic storming, continue tuning around slowly and listen carefully. You might notice that stations you never hear that from Central South America might actually make it, while all the other stations are kind of gone. It happens regularly. Um, like on the May 10th geomagnetic storm, I had quite a few people tell on the different blogs that they were hearing a lot of stations from South America and medium wave. What do we have here? Just try to get here where I was because I lost my spot. Don Royal says 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Arizona. That's way too hot for me. Way too hot. Tristan, 85 in Montreal is 46, and here on the Rock, feel free to send over some heat. TV Radio 1972 says interesting medium wave conditions on May 10th. Graveyard frequencies were less congested. I got stations at night that I only get during the day, and they weren't daytime only stations. Mike WX50 has got a Panasonic microwave too, super powerful. Yep. VT Radio hearing Brazil on 6 meters, FT8, but he's not hearing me. Did I see anything here? So nothing exotic for me on 6 meters, but I am hearing the time pips from Moscow, RWM time signal in Moscow on 14996. Let's go here. So 14996, if you guys want to try RWM time signal out of Moscow, Russia, it's making it. Seems propagation is coming back. Pretty interesting. RJ Dakota, in a restaurant where I once worked, there's all that they had, Panasonic industrial microwave ovens. Yeah, it's a good brand. Kevin Michael, nice to have you here. Recently got the AOS CD DW235 boombox AM medium wave band was dead last night. KNX in Los Angeles, California. What the sound of a microwave sound like on the radio? It's kind of a buzzing thing. It's they're on 2,450 megahertz that they transmit, and if you have a radio that goes up there, it sounds like a buzzing sound. Keegan the Xer's got a Panasonic color TV from the early 80s, Panasonic VCR from 1986, and Panasonic clock radio. Yeah, I got a Panasonic VCR here that still should work. It hasn't been plugged in many years, but still should work. Richard Wagner says, I've had great luck with Samsung. I've had it for 22 years. Going strong still. Yeah, Samsung is not a bad brand too. Lagardai, my favorite reception of all, Radio Luz y Vida on the tropical band from Honduras in 3250 when I lived in South Carolina in 81. Yeah, it's there's a lot of these stations back in the day that were interesting. The one that I always found, one that frustrated me, that I loved to listen but frustrated me, was French, the station from Guyana on 90 meters, 32. Wow, what was the frequency of that one? 32. I'm trying to remember the frequency, but it made it regularly back in the day when the noise floor was lower. And the me and my best friend that were doing radio together were like crazy. We had that crazy period of a summer vacation where we sent reception reports. We would both send reception reports to the same stations together, and we had sent the Guyana station, the Voice of Guyana, the same letter with the reception report at the same time, and he got a QSL card about 3 months later. I never did get a QSL card, and I was so mad. I was like, why do you get a QSL and I don't? Oh man. VT radio. So work VE2 FXL and 6 meters FTA. Do you see Brazil? No, I don't see Brazil. I see only US stations, but my end fed is probably not the best for 6. Also, I got some high noise on 6 for some reason, which is kind of interesting. I want to put back up my discount because my discount is capable of 6 meters and it can handle 100 watts. And maybe I would have more success with that. I just need to put it back up, find a way to put it back up in the backyard because I know that my end fed on 6 isn't that great. And the reason I know is I got a couple of local VE2 stations on 6 that are calling CQ all the time. And I noticed that they get replies from a lot of stations I don't hear at all. So I need to have something better for 6. No problem, Dr. Rashid Joshi from India. Nice to have you here. Kevin Michael, what do you think of AWO receivers? I've never had one of those though, but they seem to be interesting to look at. RJ Dakota, I used to have a regular GE table radio that used to get a lot of stations day or night. VT radio, my 10-meter beacon is at 28243. I just turned it off so I can work 6 meters with the same antenna. Jasmine, why would a Morse code beacon require another license? It's a question of like the technical aspects of it. The fact that you're going to operate something that is outside. It's an amateur device, but it's not in the same league. It's like, for example, if you want to put up a repeater, a 2-meter repeater, you need to have the advanced license. It's the regulations are made like that. So they kind of want you to have more technical knowledge to operate these things, as opposed to just using standard amateur radio equipment. Shortwave archive. I have a Toshiba RPS-8 pocket radio. Not only was I able to listen to KRVN Nebraska on 880 just after sunrise, but I was able to listen to KJJR in Montana for the first time. Cool. Have you set up a Hamshank hotline phone? No. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. Oh, it's Rocam, Blogger Die. Rocam, ROCAM. Now I remember. That's the brand name. The Rocam one. That is the Rocam whatever. I purchased on Amazon for like $22 or something. I'll try to charge it. I'll try to recharge it and use it later on today. I don't think if I power, it's dead. So I need to recharge the battery. And once it's going to be recharged, I'm gonna try to use it tonight. Maybe try to do a video or two. So what else do we have? $80K. Yeah, well, here and that's the problem. Like I was saying earlier, that quota saying the X386 at $79.99 is unavailable in Canada when you go through the Amazon store, and it is available only in a couple of places for like a crazy price, which I will not pay in Canada. Yeah, midnight is early, Jasmine. From what I know, I think it hasn't changed. I think it hasn't changed. So it was like I was like surprised because I mean here it's 3 a.m. So I was like expecting the same kind of thing there. James Radio check it list to live in Cicero, Illinois. Bars are open 23 hours a day, closed for 1 hour to clean up. Wow, that's crazy. Here they're experimenting something new. In the summertime, they want to have certain areas downtown that could be open until 6 a.m. So I don't know how it's gonna, work out. Uh, Any methods to receive shortwave broadcasts from the USA to India? What you'll get mostly is the big commercial stations like WWCR, WBCQ, and WTWW and WRMI, possibly. It shouldn't be that difficult, depending on the time you're going to choose and the frequency. It's a question of trying to make sure that you have the best. Look at the frequencies of all the US stations that are operating and try to get where it's not too noisy. Um, WWCR has a show called Ask WWCR. They were talking about some people hearing them on some frequencies in India. So I wouldn't be surprised that you could get WWCR and even WRMI on some frequencies in India. Just take the time to look at the schedules. 80K, drinking age still 18 in Quebec. Yep, 18. It's 18. Storm Raisins and Cats. Did you get to ride the Maid or the Mist? It was amazing for me as a kid. Went behind the falls, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we did. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Went to the backside tunnels in the rocks under the waterfall. All sorts of things. It was really really cool. I would go again. Being now that it's what 16 or in 2024, 16 years now. King and DXer recorded DX from Oklahoma City mostly. Also had Las Vegas, Mexicali, Tijuana, and other places in Mexico and from Canada. Fortunately, didn't think to record any of those. What were you thinking, Keegan? You have to record all of those. Jean Arash, from what I heard last in Toronto, Doug Ford relaxed the loss recently. I don't remember exactly what changed in terms of opening hours. All I remember from that guy is a buck of beer. Let's try to get people to vote for us. A buck of beer. Okay. Yeah, maybe they changed. But you know, I was there in Toronto in 2008. So Jerry Hart, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls, New York. And what else do we have? My friend in India says, are there any specific shortwave broadcaster which target their services to South Asia? I have only able to extend my DXing till Spain and Romania, but I long for listening transmissions from Americas. Yeah, well, honestly, from the Americas, you don't miss much, apart the fact that you're going to hear the Americas, because a lot of them are mostly religious broadcasters. There's WRMI that could be of interest because of its diverse programming and a lot of music and stuff. But look at, if I were you, I would look at schedules online like EIBI Space. I suspect you might have maybe a lot of noise because there's a lot of broadcasts to Southeast Asia. South Asia and Southeast Asia that should make it into India. And I suspect that maybe you have a lot of noise. Storms Radios and Cats, 14996, very weak in Kentucky. Richard Wagner remembers, Guatemala on 3300. Yes, I remember that one. If I get any CBC Radio 1 medium wave stations at night, I get the French Toronto CBC radio, and it's 860. I do not recall hearing any CBC. I will have to relook what's left on the CBC medium wave stations, but I don't recall getting the English CBC Radio 1 on medium wave. But I do get the Radio Canada French from Toronto on 860 kilohertz. RJ Dakota, the South African Broadcasting Corporation, 3250 4810. Yeah, I got a QSL card from, what was the station? Radio Orion. What was it? 3320? I got a QSL actually from them. Radio Orion from South Africa on 90 meters. Hey, John Beckham, nice to have you on board. Just here, trying to get where I was. Here we go. What else do we have? Keegan DXer heard CBC Radio 191.5 from Ottawa during an e-skip occasion. Need to check that this summer. E-skip openings on FM. Plugger Die uses 21700 battery. Some of them have a regular screw tag. Yeah, I think it's a regular screw. I have to, it's a standard cross screw. So, John Beckham, propagation isn't that good right at the moment. It's not that bad. It's because to get RWM time signal out of Moscow on 14996. It mustn't be too bad. I have to check it out. There's Autocrafter's Kitchen. Ordered a new iPhone the other day, 4 times the storage. What else do we have? Ricky, Ontario liquor laws allow alcohol sale to... Let me try to find this again. Service until 2 a.m. Perhaps individual establishments choose to close earlier. Now, in 2008, I know that for a fact it was everywhere. Everybody had to close at midnight. So they might have changed the rules. No problem, Dr. Arshit Joshi. It's nice to try to get more DX if possible. And check your noise level. Maybe I'm suspecting you might have too much noise, so it's blocking out a lot of the things you'd like to hear. Radio Marti. I haven't checked Radio Marti. Let me check that out here. Radio Marti usually comes really loud here. I hear Radio Marti's booming in. James Farley's got 20 megahertz WWV in New Jersey. Sheila says been down to the base of the Canadian or Horseshoe Falls. Magnificent and so powerful. Keegan Rachel, there were times when I was unprepared to record. Yeah, it happens to all of us. You want to do something and then it's like, I didn't record that. So yeah, it says that it's unavailable to ship to Canada. ADK doesn't work because for some things it does work, but on that radio, there's something that prevents it from being shipped to Canada. I don't know if it's because of a battery maybe that it has inside or something. It's crazy. Yeah, there's a few of them, but the problem is they're not very high power. And also maybe the pattern they're using makes it difficult for Montreal. I tried a few times that one in Winnipeg, never got it. And I think the Newfoundland one is very weak and is not very powerful. I don't remember the frequencies. One of them is on a frequency I believe is something powerful here in Montreal, which blocks it. And I think the two other ones aren't very powerful. Alexander says propagation should be good since I'm easily able to receive WWV all the way from Istanbul, Turkey. What else do we have? 54 Cal says it gets CJBCAM 860 across Lake Erie. Yeah, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. So hey, I'm at the bottom of the chat. HM01 on 11635. Let's try it out. Yeah, hearing Cuban number on 11635. I mean, if you look at the peaks, there's a lot of stations on 25 meters here. So these are all the stations on 25 meters that I'm getting on the Yesu with the end fed. So propagation is improving. It's not too bad right now. What else do we have? So let me just check this here. Okay. So a lot of people are asking if I have any other news from, the Shoyang LC90. So I've been using it a lot actually since they fixed the birdies. It's became kind of my fun hybrid radio to play with. I had fun this morning and a little bit of nostalgia because I streamed the ABC Radio Australia on the smart radio side, and of course you're hearing the top of the hour music that we remember from Radio Australia and all of that, and they even had a little bit of which I found funny for a streaming radio, a little bit of that interval signal that they had on shortwave. So it was kind of fun to listen to Radio Australia a little bit and so on, and been playing with the smart radio side, and pretty much 50-50. But I notice a lot of, it's tough to find stations, first of all, on the smart radio side, and a lot of the streams aren't starting. I've noticed they need to make the aggregator better, I think. For the rest, I when I tune shortwave now, it's kind of fun. The only, if they could fix the single sideband flaw, I would be very happy with this radio suddenly, because it would make it easy to tune in any single sideband stations. They need to fix that. It's one of the major things they need to fix. But apart from that, I'm happy. I mean, I'm playing with it. But it has flaws that needs to be fixed. I made a specific video just with the flaws, so that they could see what's wrong with it. And the display that doesn't display the correct information all the time, a little annoying. Let me try here. 764. So it's 764.
39 decimal 3 north, 71 decimal 9 west. Southwest at 37 decimal 7 north.
8764 to U.S. Coast Guard. 8764 and 13089 if you guys want to try it. 8764 is coming in decently. Single sideband on the Shoyoung and plugged into the I thought I'd heard something. So an upper sideband plugged to the MLE30 outdoors. So it's coming in. The chuffing, that I don't know, they can fix anything with that. Unfortunately, it is a radio that mutes, which is annoying for a lot of people. So we'll see. I haven't had any news back from Shoyoung. They are working, I know, on a LC100. I know that one thing that they want to do is send me the LC100 before they ever release it officially, so that maybe we can find a way to make it the best radio possible before launch. So, but for now, I'm having fun. I mean, you know, I find it cool, but yeah, I got it free. You know, I can't complain too much. Personally, you got it for nothing. It does a decent job right now at doing what it wants to do, but it's far from perfect. What I would tell because there's a lot of people intrigued and saying, well, you know, I want to buy one. And I'm like, well, remember it has quirks that are weird and the single sideband tuning is not pleasant if the frequency is not perfect already. Like you could hear here that the single sideband voice was slightly off. It was a little too high pitched. I ain't going to start playing to tune it correctly. It's too complicated. It doesn't tune correctly, and it tunes reverse. So, you know, I just leave it like that, which is something that does annoy me because I like it when you can tune it perfectly. You know, I can't imagine, for example, tuning a pirate station with this that plays music. Forget it. In single sideband, I'm going to go crazy before I can tune it. If you can live with the quirks, these weird quirks that it has, with a kind of average medium wave, long wave. But you got to understand also one thing that I think I didn't mention in the video. There's no internal ferrite in here. There's no internal medium wave loop. The medium wave, long wave is received with the telescopic antenna. So that's also maybe a reason it's not as good, because an internal loop antenna is way better than a telescopic on these low frequencies. So it's really a question of, can you live with the flaws and you want to have an hybrid kind of thing that's kind of fun to play with? Well, go for it. Go for it. But if you want to have, for the price that it's sold, a good radio and a perfect radio and that it does it right, well, now you might be disappointed. So thank you for the donation, Rob's Radio channel. What they could add to the Shoyoung is a VPN for the net radio side. Some links are geo-blocked on the aggregator to use. Yeah, that's one thing. What they could, you know, but it's not that much of a problem for me because if you have a router, you can actually add a VPN directly within your router's connection. So that could be there too. But yeah, it's an idea. It's an idea. For sure. Kevin Michaels miss having Hitachi radios. Hitachi radios. Oh no, mine is Toshiba. Now you have a mystery to solve. I tried to fire up this baby this week. It doesn't turn on anymore at all. I haven't been able to turn it on. So I'm going to have to check out what's happening because I wanted to do some videos listening to a few stations on this old analog Toshiba. with that mesmerizing, hypnotizing S meter, but it doesn't turn on. So I don't know what's happening. I have to check it out. Definitely will have to check it out. It was working fine until last time I used it, and I went to turn it on this week. Doesn't do nothing at all. Change the batteries. I made sure that everything seemed right. No, no radio. Marvin Motz, Shoyang Radio is a new company. I talked with them about you at Amvention last month, and I intend to visit them in Shenzhen this year. So you talked to them at Amvention. Cool. Cool. As long as they didn't have bad words from that guy from Canada with their radios. No, they seem interesting because they seem to really want to do something good, and I applaud the fact that they're trying something new that nobody else has tried. So backlit keys. The Shoyang has backlit keys, by the way. It does definitely have. You can't see it because of the lighting here, but all the keys light up when you tune or press a button. So that is great. That is amazingly great, and I'm happy to have that at night. And the display is beautiful. I mean, add RDS on FM, be nice too. Blugger Eye, RWM 14997 Morse and Pips, Tex NPL 990, 20 feet wire, Central Virginia, decent signal. Cool. Shortwave Archive 1400 AM, CBG and Gander is 4 kilowatts. 750 and Buena Vista is 10. 640 and St. John's is 10. 640 has some station on it. I will try. You get me intrigued. I'd like to try them. I'm going to try these frequencies again and see if anything can come in. And who knows? Who knows? Jim's radio check. I have no use for internet radio. My cell phone does the job fine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does it. It does it absolutely. It's not a need necessarily, but it's kind of cool. I find it cool as a device to have it all in there. Craig Martinetti, nice to have you on board from Oxford County, Ontario, Canada. Donna Royal says, thank you for the review of the LC90. Was thinking of buying one. I'll wait and see if they fix the bugs. Yeah. But the biggest bug was for me, that radio, when it had all the birdies, it was a no. It's like, no. Because I know that my main use of that radio will be to go on shortwave much more than on the smart radio side. And when all the birdies were there, I was like, yeah, okay, I've got a neat smart radio, portable smart radio. And shortwave's rather bad. I mean, when I tuned Spain on 17855 and their birdie was right on smack the frequency, and I couldn't, Spain was really strong, but the birdie was so strong too that it made it impossible to listen to. That was tough. It was like, no, this radio needs really to be fixed. And I'm still amazed. I'm still wondering what they did with that firmware update that removed all the birdies. It's all I can see is they turned off a circuit. They've learned that they could switch off maybe the smart radio side when you press that shortwave button. Blogger Die 8764 good in Virginia. The PL990 with telescopic. RG Dakota, personally like both my internet radio and my shortwave radio for different situations. I don't like the idea of wearing my phone down or something I can find on a radio. For me, we all have our different way of doing or wanting to do something. Yes, definitely. If you have a smartphone or even a computer, you've got everything needed to stream these stations and stream stuff. If you have a radio that has Bluetooth capability to play the audio from a device, well, you can, hook up the Bluetooth. For example, I could hook up, and I've done it a few times, hook up the Bluetooth of a Kiwi SDR, for example, on my PC that I'm using to stream, hook the Bluetooth to the XH Data portable or the Texan, and then play that audio through the radio itself. And I could actually use that radio in the kitchen, listen to something that's playing on the computer here in my office. It works. And of course, streaming, you could have your phone Bluetooth connected to your radio that has Bluetooth, use it as a smart speaker, and of course, it does what the Shoyang does. It's a shortwave radio that, when connecting your phone to it, becomes a smart radio technically. I personally do not stream anything on my phone except when I'm commuting or taking a walk. Yes, I will use the streaming capabilities, but at home, I don't use my phone to do that. And I prefer personally to have a device that does it. And that's me. And like I said, it's not needed because the phone does it, and you can use your phone if you want, and it's fine. You don't have to have 3 or 4 devices. But I got my Sangean WFR32, which I like, and I'm happy to have it. And I use it to listen to podcasts from Radio Sweden, the podcasts like AWR Wavescan if I missed it on the radio, World Radio from Glenn Hauser, and also the radio. Wait, what is it? The darn it, trying to remember the other one. But anyways, I'm happy with it. Plus, it has an amazing audio output. So if I want to stream music in my kitchen while I'm cooking or doing stuff, the audio is so amazing that I can stream a music channel, a rock music channel or a pop music channel of some sort, and man, the audio is just so great. It's like having a boombox. So I'm happy that way personally, but everybody has a different way of checking out what they want and how they want to listen to it. And yeah, your smartphone and a computer does the job too. Keegan DX on occasion gets channel 3, was NBC from Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, back in the day, when you were at DX TV stations. Mike WX, Solar Storm zapped your radio. No, well, with a collapsed antenna, I doubt that the Solar Storm did that. I need to check it out. Jasmine, Itachi made radios? Well, this one is branded Itachi, but the same exact radio I've seen in a old Popular Communication, I believe. The picture, and I recognize the radio immediately. It's the same radio. It's branded Kenwood. I was like, what? There's a Kenwood portable? And so I don't know exactly who made it. Maybe it's Itachi. But yeah, I was surprised too. The first time I saw the radio, I was like, what? So anyways, I'm going to have to check it out because right now it doesn't work. SWAT guts, probably an inline fuse. Yeah, I'm going to open it up. And I mean, it doesn't work. So, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to check it out. I'd like to have it back and working. TV Radio 72, give credit to Shoyang for trying to make a world band receiver that includes internet radio. I hope they can improve it with their next radio. Yeah, I mean, nobody else does that. They're the first. It's I think we have to give them at least credit for trying. Blogger, I check to see if there's a separate button cell battery in the Toshiba. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to check it out. John, Tampa, Florida, 8764 and 13089 USB. Coast Guard weather broadcast. Boat coming in clear with some noise in Florida. Rob's radio channel may be laying up. Capacitors may gone out. Yeah, it's not impossible. I'm going to have to check it out. Marvin Motz, does the Shoyang speaker sound good? It has separate woofer and tweeter. It sounds good, but it's not great. We're going to put it that way. It clearly on especially on. Yeah, I'm going to try. Well, no, it's not the speaker, Rob, because the S meter doesn't move. If it was just a speaker, when I turn it on, the S meter would move with the noise or whatever. There's absolutely nothing happening, so it's not the speaker. Marvin Motz, it sounds very good. It sounds very good on good quality streams, for example. Amazing, it's amazing, but it's my St. James better, but it sounds good. We got to give them that it sounds good. So what else do we have? Todd, KC1 PSK. Nice to have you here from Connecticut. Nice to have you on board. John Beckham, enjoyed my DJing analog shortwave DXing. Yeah, it is. Look at that. It's still here. I'm still not very far. I love this radio. It's unique, very unique in the way it's designed. I find it so interesting that somebody actually imitated a needle on the LCD display when you're tuning around. And I'm like, this is so cool. It's something that's absolutely not necessary. I mean, we've got a display here, but I don't know. Whoever thought of this is like, wow, this is really cool. It's interesting. So, anyways, I love it. Mine, this thing is 10 years old, probably. I've had this thing for a long time now. Still working great. And one of the good radios out there. I remember when I got it, being really amazed. I paid that Degen D 1103 something like $75 or $80, and I thought at that price it can't be that great. And when I got it, I was extremely amazed at how good it is. If you guys want to hear Voice of Turkey, it is coming in very well. 11785 kilohertz. I'm actually going to tune it even on the Shoyang radio here. 85. So 11785, Voice of Turkey. That's on the ML830 on the Shoyang radio. And it's even better on my Yaesu with the end-fed antenna. 11785, Voice of Turkey English starting. And I believe I'm trying to remember which one it was. And Radio Romania on 11800.
You are listening to our 1 hour broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe and Japan.
So this is Western Europe, 11800 Radio Romania, 11785 Voice of Turkey English. Belt coming in well here. What else do we have? Jasmine, imagine a device made for Spotify. Yeah. I did give them some pointers on how to improve on the smart radio side of things? What do we have? RJ Dakota says Radio Romania International comes in well with my internet radio when I can't hear it on the shortwave. Yeah, Shortwave Archive. What was the first shortwave station you tuned into or was able to ID? So I tuned to. I've tuned to the first night. That was August '82. I was amazed at what I was hearing. I can't pinpoint the first station what it was, but I can say that I do remember on the first night that I tuned the DX100 in '82. I heard Call Israel in English. I heard Radio Berlin International, and I heard the BBC World Service. These are the three that I remember from that first evening of listening, but I know that I've heard probably more than that. It was crazy. Craig Martinetti, have you ever tuned to 4VH and IAT? Yes, and I have a QSL from them. Fortunately, it's too difficult to find at this time, but I do have a 4VEH QSL on 4930 kilohertz. And that was somewhere in 1983-ish, 84 maybe. I remember when I got my QSL card from them, they left shortwave not very long after that. And I remember it's because their transmitter went bad, but they didn't have any money to repair it. Carl Hitachi not only made radios, they made radio chips for many other companies. They're a big chip maker also back in the day. I remember a lot of devices having Hitachi chips in them. When you look at the service manuals, it was like, wow. Carol has KPH CW on 8641 S4 on the meter. Yeah, they have a few frequencies that they are transmitting on. Did they just stop? I think they stopped at 22 hours. I'm trying to remember what's their schedule on Saturday. RJ Dakota, Shoyoung's next radio will be better. I think they are a new company that is seriously trying to make a better radio, and I think they're using it as a learning experience. Yeah, I guess. You know, they thought that there would be a lot of returns because of the shortwave problems, but they said that there was not a lot of returns. It turns out a lot of people that purchased it because they wanted a portable smart radio. Sid, any thoughts on the Texan R9700DX? Nice to have you here from Central UK. I don't have one, but all I hear is that it's it seems to be a very good analog portable. SWAT Cat says must repair his DX440. It is not turning on, either power switch or something else. Shortwave Archive, Radio Romania 11800. Jim's Radio Check says Kato also makes that radio, K1103. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same radio. It's branded Kato and Degen. RJ Dakota, I used to have a Toshiba Radio Walkman radio that had the same type of LCD pointer as on the Degen D1103. Wow. Ross Radio Channel. Gilles, do you have a signal tracer? If you have, you could see if any signals on any of these transistors inside the board. I don't have much of equipment here. I don't have what it takes to really, kind of repair anything. I don't have a signal generator. I don't have, an oscilloscope. I don't have anything that really could be used except a multimeter. Shortwave Archive, we're hearing a faint KBS World Radio on 11810. Sergeant Rock, nice to have you here. No, I don't. I don't have any of these wires for the Yaesu stuff. So I know that you can do a lot of stuff with that. There's a lot of things. I have yet to take the time. Actually, it's because I don't have a lot of time, because I have yet to take the time to really, do more with my Yaesu FTDX10. Kevin Michael says, I can't hook up outdoor antenna since I live in an apartment complex. That is way my DX on AM medium wave. It's not as good as it can be. I'm waiting for cold spell to happen for DX on AM. Jasmine, Joe, have you ever taken a portable to a beach, Atlantic Pacific? I heard that often you can hear stations there which are hard to receive otherwise. The only beaches near the ocean that I've been are the Atlantic coast, a long time ago. And for some reason, it never came to mind to bring a radio back in the day. It was more like enjoying vacation. But I could have, brought a portable and listen on the beaches of Maine, of Virginia, and even on in Florida, in Daytona Beach. But no, never had a radio. Today, when I think back, I'm like, man, I should have brought a radio with me. It would have been interesting to see what I can hear. Mainly because of the salty ocean water. Where I would be interested to tune in is the long wave, because apparently it makes it quite easy to get all of those long wave stations, transatlantic long wave stations, and even medium wave. That would probably be a lot what I would do. Of course, shortwave for sure, but I don't know. Someday I'll return to some beach, and maybe in the Atlantic, and who knows, maybe the Pacific someday. 32 bits, 1100 is very strong in the UK. Maybe radio Romanian English. Yeah, Romanian English for Western Europe. Kev Michael, Voice of Korea on 13650. 9 a.m. North Korea. Voice of Turkey and Radio Romania booming in Florida with a Countycom GP7 SSB. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, at least you could still listen and do some radio. Kevin Michael, KPH, Buenos Aires, California. My favorite Kiwi is the Aeroside. Yeah, I've used it a few times. When checking out, Trans-Pacific stuff. I've used it a few times. 50 Devon's Shortwave says RRI 11800 and Voice of Turkey 785, both coming in well in Southeast Georgia. Kevin Michael says Cuba on 5025 coming in week at night. Jim's radio check. Yeah, KA1103 to DGen also. They're pretty good on sideband. The next Zoom, Rob, is on June 15th, 20 hours UTC. Just a reminder to everybody, if you want to join in, the Zoom meeting is to, donate a little something to the channel. So if you did a contribution to the channel, either in the form of money, I always say, well, if you donated something, but if you donate a radio, you'll be entitled also to that same privilege. It doesn't have to be money. You can use a super chat here, or even better, because PayPal has less fees, you can send a donation through PayPal at the Yahoo address that I am posting now. And make sure I got your email, because the next Zoom is going to be on June 15th for contributors. It'll be at 20 hours UTC. We'll listen to the bands together and talk radio. It's a different style and different kind of thing. It's fun because you can see everybody. Also, we can interact, in a different way because of here's the chat. It's fun, but seeing each other and being able to interact with our voice and all, and seeing each other is kind of fun too. So if you want to join in, any amount helps, and you're in. So June 15th at 20 hours UTC is going to be the Zoom. Your emails are going to receive the links to the Zoom a couple of days before the event itself, around June 13th, probably. Blackerdai, Romania, and Turkey, so on WIP here in Virginia. Have a good dinner, VT Radio. John Beckham, 5010, 525, both usually audible right here in Northeast Florida. Christopher's Recovery. Can a person build their own shortwave radio? Technically, yes. Technically, yes. If you have a schematic or something, technically, yes. But depends what you want to build. And, you probably can find some schematics online for building, shortwave radios. But depending on how good you want it, the better it is going to be, the more complex it is going to be to build. And there were kits. Over the years, there were a lot of kits of shortwave radios that you could build. Kev Michael. JB Quito Ecuador on 690 is very weak, almost gone here. Missed the DX party line. Yeah. RJ Dakota says not picking up Romania or Turkey in the east central Missouri. Yeah, you're more west, so it's possible that it's because these are, Romania's for the western Europe, so it's not even for North America. And Turkey, it's for the East Coast, so might not make it too far to the west. John Beckham says back in the day, Night Kit and ETH Kit made shortwave radios to build. Yep, definitely. Shortwave Archive. Is it possible to receive the voice of Mongolia nowadays in North America? Very tough one, because of the times that they use and the frequency. It's very, very, very difficult. It would probably be more in the winter time that you have a chance for that. I heard Voice of Mongolia direct once in my life in the 80s and had a chance to get a QSL out of it. It's sad that they're not doing WRMI anymore. They didn't do WRMI for a long time. They went there for a couple of months and were gone. So, yeah, you did get invited to the last one, Rob's radio channel. I sent you the email. The last one was what? So it was in April. If I'm not mistaken, it was in April. Marvin Motts, Ted Randall at WRMI Radio Legends show interviewed me live for 20 minutes on May 25th regarding my new type of shortwave radio. Cool. James Farley has Radio FIDA at 11610 via Madagascar. So no, it's not in the schedule of WRMI anymore. The only way to get it would be through direct through Mongolia, and it's kind of a tough one. So what else do we have? No, there was no Zoom in May. I spaced them out like every 2 months, roughly. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. And nice to see you. Kev Michael, Honolulu Radio, 2863 kilohertz USB with weather. That would be a tough one to get here. That would be a tough one. It's interesting to see all of these stations that could be received. I look at the European, like a lot of countries in Europe actually have weather broadcasts, and like upper, just above the medium wave band, like of 1800 kilohertz, and even in the 2 megahertz range, 2000 to 3000 kilohertz. It's pretty crazy. So it's and there's a lot of those broadcasts. Even I was using a Kiwi SDR, and I heard one of the broadcasts, the weather broadcast coming out of Greenland. So you can monitor Greenland, Iceland. You can monitor all the Nordic countries. Norway, Sweden, Finland all have there's those weather broadcasts and marine weather broadcasts on the 2 megahertz range, and even 3 megahertz range. But they're really tough to get here in North America. Shortwave archive. Why did stations like Voice of Indonesia and Bangladesh Betar move to lower bands? Usually they're kind of focusing broadcast to their own area. So the natural way of going to the own area you're going to broadcast is to lower your frequency. I mean, if you're broadcasting on too high of a frequency, you're going to skip over the region you want to broadcast to. These stations have pretty much, kind of shut down anything international and just are broadcasting towards their own islands in their own area in Asia. So they lowered the frequency so that they could be heard around where they want to be heard. So what else do we have? Craig, just write to me, official shortwave radio at gmail.com, and I'll send you my postal address, or just go to curaz.com and type VE2ZZI, and you're going to see my full address there. Yeah, June 15th, the next one, at 20 hours UTC. My WX50 is 2390 considered shortwave or medium wave. I logged radio. I Kuchya on that frequency in the 80s. Technically, so the way it works is that most radios will tell you that, if they go down to 1.8 megahertz, because a lot of them, will do 1.8 to 30 megahertz, and they just say shortwave. So technically, that's what they do. But in reality, below 3000 kilohertz, it's medium wave. Medium wave is from 300 kilohertz to 3000 kilohertz. So even when you listen to a beacon, say you got a beacon on 400 kilohertz, well, it's not long wave. Even though your radio does say it's long wave, 400 kilohertz is medium wave. It's really 300 kilohertz to 3000 kilohertz is medium wave. So technically, if you're on the 160 meter ham band, you're on medium wave. If you listen to WWV time signal on 2500 kilohertz, you're listening to a WWV medium wave station. That's in reality. But most of the radios and a lot of the publications even that I've seen will just say, well, shortwave. It's like, yeah, okay. 54 cal, can you recommend any reputable sellers for the MLA 30 plus? I haven't checked a lot of them. I haven't checked all of them. But you can find it on Amazon. It's just to be careful that you've got the real one with the bias T and all the cables, because there's some sellers that are actually sending out those with just 2 wires for the power. It's like, no, that's not what you want. You want to have the one that has all the little thing. One thing you can also try is the KW. What is it? The KW 180, WLA 180. What is the KW? I'm trying to remember the exact. Some of you have it, which could could be interesting. And it has an interesting thing to it too, is that it has a battery that recharges, that keeps the antenna working if you have a power outage, which is kind of nice. Um, but on Amazon, you should be getting some of the sellers. I mean, I get that question regularly. I should make a video and go and find a few places and post the links in a video so that you guys know if you're not sure where to buy one. So yeah, the K180 WLA. That's it. Thank you, Jay. So yeah, right, Craig, just write to the email I just posted, official shortwave radio at gmail.com, or go to QRZ.com, the amateur radio site. Just type my call sign, VE2ZZI. You will see my postal address there too. Ken Michael got Radio Swaziland on 4045 back in early 2020s. Yeah, one station I missed that I could get quite easily here was what was the station on 4055? That tropical station. 4055 was shortwave radio 4055 kilohertz. That was Radio Verdad, Guatemala. 4055. I used to get that one regularly, and I even have a video from 5 years ago. And yeah, they're gone. They're gone, unfortunately. I believe they had a transmitter issue, and like a lot of stations, they just didn't have the money to fix the transmitter, unfortunately. I heard Radio Swaziland in the 3 megahertz range and in the 60-meter band too. Back in the day, you can still hear which is now from Eswatini, Transworld Radio, which was Swaziland, has become now Eswatini. Sid says, it's always cool being on here, watching this channel and getting live frequency updates. What else do we have? Yeah, WWBB apparently had some damage to its antenna system. And so I don't know how. I think they're running lower power than usual. RJ Dakota, that means I have one extra medium wave stations, at least on Saturdays, WA0RCR and 1860. Yeah, I used to get that fairly well where I lived before. The noise floor was so low. Hey, David in Barcelona, how are you, my friend? Watching from my second QTH in the northeastern Spanish countryside. So nice to have you on board. Today, as I've covered a pass for the Green Cube satellite, trying to get settings right for making a portable QSO. Cool. There was an interesting comment. I'm part of the satellite, one of the Facebook satellite groups. One guy was complaining that he's tired of amateur stations that want to use the repeater on the International Space Station that are hogging the repeater. They're making contacts after contacts after contacts, not giving anybody else a chance. And he was saying, why isn't there a rule, or why don't we have a rule of, if you make one contact, move away and give the chance to the others to do it in that 15, 20-minute pass range, which I thought was a good idea, because effectively, some guys are just hogging the repeater, and it's like preventing everybody from doing. There was one guy the other day, I heard a pass at night. There was one guy, I swear, the two guys had a conversation over 15 minutes. I I if they could hear me, I almost would have like just said, can you guys shut up and give a chance to other people, please? A little respect, give a chance to others. I found that so annoying. Trustin says Radio Romania 11800 coming in strong in Western Newfoundland on telescopic. Kev Michael 1610 kilohertz Caribbean Beacon Anguilla with Dr. Gene Scott still on that channel. Wow. Mike WX50 a log Transworld Radio Swaziland 3240 and 81. Craig Martinetti, can I just call in to the Zoom call, a phone number and password and passcode? What I do is I send in the email with the link where you just register, and then you're all set up to whatever device you're going to use. You're all set up to join the Zoom call. RJ Dakota, Springbok 3215 and 4810. Yep. Craig Martinetti, TWR office is in London, Ontario, Canada. Okay, interesting. So let's check out here if there's any pirates or anything unusual right now. See if there's something on. And nothing right now. It's early because we're getting into summer propagation. So I'm hearing RWM Moscow time signal both on 14996 on the ICOM right here, which is on the ML830, and on 9996 also. Actually, I should switch differently here. I should do. I should do 14. It's pretty strong on 14996, but it's there on 9996 also on my radios. Try it, Shortwave Archive. It apparently is heard regularly on in North America. So try it if you have a chance at 06 UT. Here it's like 2 hours in the morning, which is I need to stay up if I want to try. Another station also, ELWA in Liberia, is another one to try around that time, 05, 06 UT, on 6055, I believe. That one I've heard last winter. And for those that want to try Austria, you can still hear what's left of Radio Austria in German on 6155. And they're broadcasting at just 155. So you can still hear Radio Austria 05 to 0533, Monday to Saturday. And it's a broadcast to Europe. So Monday to Saturday, 05 to 0533, 6155 kilohertz. That one I hear quite easily when I try it. And Mali is back on 5995 kilohertz. If you guys want to hear exotic music, they were gone for a while. 6050. Thank you, your Shortwave Archive. ELWA is 6050 kilohertz. If you want to listen to Radio Mali, they are back. A lot of reports, and I heard them a couple of weeks ago on 5995. and they really have this exotic music when they're playing music. It's pretty cool. David in Barcelona says, "Hey, Joel, yes, on the FM satellites like the ISS, that's definitely a problem since they're basically single channel repeaters. Not easy to be heard if someone else is already transmitting on the set." Yep. And a lot of people are complaining of that. Pretty crazy. Kevin Michael, what happened to Superpower KUSW in the 40-meter band from Utah? I have a QSL card from the 80s. Yeah, let me see if we got a little bit of news of info here about that station. Let's go here to Wikipedia. Maybe they will have a page to tell us what happened to. I'm going to try that. KUSW. Which was so it was Utah. And Utah, yes. KUSW, which is also branded the Superpower, officially launched on December 26th, 87, during the peak years of the American commercial shortwave broadcasting boom, triggered by the founding of WRNO Worldwide, owned by Carlson Communications International. And what they're saying here. So yeah, so KUSW became KTBN at some point. They were sold in 1990 for $2 million. Station signed off under its old format on December 16th of 1990. So they're not really saying much about it, what happened, and why they left. But, a lot of those stations didn't have much. So KTBN, formerly KUSW. Yeah. Not a lot of info on it. Honestly, not a great page for it. So, yeah, apparently that's what it is. Hey, kid, instead of staying up too late, set up a C Crane VersaCoder timer, quarter timer. Ken Michael has voice of Mongolia that is on long wave on 280 kilohertz. Be interesting to listen to. Should try some of the Kiwi SDRs in Asia. Yeah, it's pretty much what happens. So they get bought out or they shut down, or sometimes, a lot of the shortwave stations back in the day shut down because equipment just died. It's probably the number one reason of a lot of stations gone. Equipment shut down, equipment just dies, and they don't have the money to repair, so they just let it go. Unfortunately, I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while. Try to. I sometimes do not look at it much, but sometimes you've got emails coming in. I haven't looked at those for a while, and I should keep up that email look. So it's gonna be interesting. Oh, thanks, Ricky, for checking out the propagation, the charts for the stations. And Joliet is going to open. It'll be interesting to see if it interferes with the WVPS reception on 107.9. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff back in the day that we could listen to. It's like WRNO. Still remember when I turned it on, first time I heard, which was unusual on shortwave, my first, a rock music station on shortwave. It was like, wow. And I do have stickers. I do have a couple of stickers from WRNO here. I've got one actually on top of my Realistic DX100. I got a couple of QSL cards from WRNO back in the day. They're still there, but it's religious only stuff. It's not the same owner. It's like totally different. But 7505 in the evening is WRNO. Whatever happened to Africa number one? That's one of the other stations that, they were all over the place. Africa number one was, I enjoyed listening to Africa number one from Gabon. They were on a few frequencies. I think 9580 was one. And they had one in the 16 meter band, 17 something. And I think 15475 was one of them in the 19 meter band in the day. They were packing pretty good signal here in North America. Africa number one from Gabon. That was a case of broken down transmitter. They had a transmitter that they were using, and slowly it needed to be replaced. And what happened is I think they just thought it wasn't worth the money to replace it. They're online. If you check Africa number one, you will see that they have a stream online. They're still there. They still exist, and I believe they exist in Gabon, the FM band. But I think they just didn't find that it was, interesting to continue broadcasts on shortwave. They were trying to broadcast because their main focus was to broadcast to the African continent. A little bit like, Radio RSA, when it became Channel Africa, they changed their focus. They didn't want to be an international broadcaster anymore. They wanted to focus on giving news to Africa, and that's it. And it went on for several years. Channel Africa was there for several years. But they shut down because they just thought, well, maybe it isn't interesting anymore to do this, which I found sad because it was a decent news source of what's happening in Africa. But at some point, I guess, they just decided, well, what are we getting out of all the money we're spending, So it's one of those stations that left. But I still remember Channel Africa when RSA became Channel Africa. What else do we have? Kev Michael, medium wave is 300 to 3,000 kilohertz. After 3,000 kilohertz, you're shortwave. Shortwave is 3,000 kilohertz up to 30,000 kilohertz. My WX50 says, I like WRNO with songs Don't Stand So Close to Me and Let's Dance by David Bowie in 81. Wow. RJ Dakota, I used to have a shortwave boombox, and back in the 80s, I brought it with us down to the country, and friends were amazed by how I could pick up rock of the New Orleans or South Lake City. Yeah. Yeah, I've listened to their stream online maybe 6 months to a year ago. I was curious if they were still there. Like 4VH out of Haiti has an online stream. They are still online today, which is surprising considering how bad the condition, what's happening in Haiti right now. SWAT cats, yeah, 300 to 3,000. Yep, absolutely. Sweatcats. Do you have a QSL from them? I do have a QSL from Africa number 1. Definitely. Is it possible to get anything from Ukraine on shortwave in North America, Eastern time zone? There's really nothing coming out of Ukraine. The only broadcast we had was on WRMI. I don't know if they still have a broadcast relayed from WRMI. So, yeah, well, Keegan DX, shortwave is from 3000. That a lot of radios say, oh, it's 1711 to 29999 because they included in their shortwave section of their radios. But shortwave is really technically the real shortwave is 3000 kilohertz up to 30,000 kilohertz. And after 30,000 kilohertz, you get to VHF. But 1711 to 3000, that a lot of radios put in the shortwave range are, in reality, they're medium wave. It's medium wave frequencies. A lot of radios have these weird things that, they just, it's easier to put it like that, RJ Dakota used to be able to request songs on WRNO and hear them within the hour. Shortwave Archive, Voice of America broadcast from the African number 1 transmitter site while changing from the Liberia relay to Botswana. But at $800 an hour, they looked at something else. Yeah, that's kind of an expensive one. Definitely. Mike WX50, speaking of Africa broadcast, did anyone listen? Yeah, Radio Uganda back in the day. Radio Botswana with the famous interval signal of animal sounds. One that I listened a lot because it was like my bedtime radio station back in the day. I tuned 5904.5 kilohertz. That was Radio Nationale Chadienne. Jerry Hart used to listen to Voice of Nigeria. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know what's happening with them. Maybe they don't have money to run the transmitters because they're still listed. And it's kind of irregular, but they're still listed on some frequencies. So it's kind of interesting. So like we said, Kevin Michael, it's Superpower KUSW, and they've kind of sold to KTBN, and it's like a question of being sold here and there, and they finally disappeared at some point. RJ Dakota used to have a radio labeled MB for Marine Band, and they ran it from 1600 to 4000 kilohertz, especially realistic radio. Yeah, often they had details. Of a lot of radios, when they had a big enough display, had little details of, okay, this is a Marine Band, this is international broadcast, aeronautical. Some of them were well detailed. Some of them were like very general. Radio Kit. So the old Marine Band is actually medium wave, 1.63 megahertz. Yep. It's still fairly active with a lot of marine broadcasts and stuff. Like here in Canada, we've got the different marine stations, 2 megahertz, 2598, 2749, even down to 2054 in out west in British Columbia. Yeah, medium frequency is what we call medium wave, and HF for high frequency, which we call shortwave. So, No, it depends on the reference, the book you'll have, David. Medium wave doesn't have a reference of the medium wave band itself. It's some books. If you go back and look at some of the older books, from the day, you'll see that rather than medium frequency, they often use medium wave. It depends on the manual you're going to get. And so some will tell you, well, HF 3000 to 30,000 kilohertz, but some will say shortwave. I think it's a generational thing. The old books will give you shortwave and medium wave. The new books today will tell you, well, medium frequency and HF or high frequency and so on. It depends on the books that you're referring to and the age of the book too. It all means the same thing. It's like GMT UTC, you know. Shortwave archive. Looked at an old RCI TV commercial from 1983 telling you to listen to them while you're visiting a different country. Also to contact your local CBC station for a free program schedule. Oh man, yeah, back in the day. Radio Kid, that's why the old marine portables could be used for navigation, I guess, since you could point the radio at the beacon and figure direction. Yeah. Kevin Michael, Africa is very hard to get in my area of the world, since a lot of them are no longer on 3 or 4 megahertz band, maybe East Africa once in a while, doing a cold spell. It's, we've had so much of these stations. I remember, the patterns we would get of we would turn on the radio in late afternoon and start getting all of those African stations. I remember like, the 60-meter band, particularly with all the African stations. We'd start in the summertime in my summer vacations. I'd love to, like, late afternoon start to come in at the late afternoon, like, time of phase. Then you'd have all the Africans up to like now, and this would be the time, like, 22 23 UTC would be the time when a lot of the stations would shut down for the night. And then you'd have that shift from Africa into Central South America all evening and receiving all the South American, Central American stations like Radio Reloge and Ecos del Torbes on 4980 and Radio Barquisimeto and Radio Quito 4920 was a good one. There's so many of them anyways. It was kind of cool to see that shift in pattern in propagation. So, yeah, Jerry Art. That's another, depending on the age of your book. You got today's kilohertz and megahertz, but back in the day it was kilocycles for the kilohertz. And a lot of radios actually had kilocycles printed on them rather than kilohertz. Mass in a Can. I remember when I was younger listening to Eddie Schwartz out of Chicago on WGN radio until his health went downhill. And we all have the good old, shows and stuff. I remember one of my favorite things was like really warm summer nights. We didn't have air conditioning back in the 80s. Like nobody had that back in the 80s much here. We'd sit down in the balcony, me and my mom, and I'd put 1130, which back then played big band music. And my mom enjoyed that back in the day. Craig Martinetti, do you listen to many shortwave broadcasters online? Almost none. Honestly, I listen on shortwave. I find the times that they are broadcasting that I can hear and listen on shortwave, even the BBC World Service. It will be, I will use mostly an online listening to some of the stuff that might be just online only, that is impossible to hear here. But No, my online listening, streaming, honestly, is mostly music. Um, I mean, I hear the BBC super well at 04 UT on 12095. That I get my 1 hour of BBC there, and hear what's happening, and a lot of stations. But I do not stream the stations I hear well on shortwave. I don't usually stream them. The exception to the rule would be the BBC for different programs that are not on shortwave or I can't get on shortwave. But that's it. And even then, I would probably try to tune in through my HD radio on a WVPS HD channel and get it on a real radio on HD. So, you know. Yeah, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. There's Mauritania. Lots of stuff. Kev Michael, RF Radio Austria on 6155. Blue Danube opening always at night. Yeah. Sweat cuts. You can actually hear the ionosphere change when you listen to a distance HF station. Yep, that's the fading. All the fading and the changes on the signal is definitely, it's the ionosphere rearranging itself all the time. David, yeah, it depends on whether you think in terms of wavelength frequency, pretty much like the cycles was actually used instead of hertz. Yep. Sweat cuts, 1 million cycles, yes. Jasmine, I just found out the place which made my extremely low frequency listening device information unlimited is gone after the owner died. RG Dakota, and later on, Latins would come in. Yep, a lot of them. It was great. Still love the Colombian music, so that's also why I have an internet radio. Yeah, I get a good kick out of I get a good kick out of listening to HTJB on the last frequency they are 6050, and when they have that Ecuadorian music. Oh, darn. It brings me back to the days of HCJB real hard. It's crazy. Carol, has anyone in North America heard the new low power shortwave stations in Europe? I haven't seen any logs of it here. It's darn low power. So, and the times are not good for that frequency also. So it's probably going to be mostly something that European countries will get mostly. Should try with some Kiwi SDRs. So, Rotten Animal, nice to have you here. Two bits. Radio with good AM sync detector helps with fading. You can achieve the same thing with just upper lower sideband. You just switch to a lower or upper sideband. I've always found that it does the same thing personally. They were saying, you guys are talking about the atmosphere, the ionosphere. When we had the eclipse, they sent up 3 rockets. NASA sent up 3 rockets to examine different things out in the ionosphere. But they were saying that one of the finds they had recently was that when they've noticed that when they do this, that the ionosphere actually goes out in waves just like the ocean. And they were like, wow, this is kind of interesting. Take care, Carol. And always nice to have you here. Stay safe. King and the Xer, listen to WRMI Legends on shortwave on occasion. If conditions are not the best, I may listen to their web stream instead. Yeah, I mean, there's a use for that. If I would not hear the BBC say on 12095 because of some propagation condition, I would probably switch to an online stream to listen. But I listen. What's on shortwave? I listen mostly on shortwave. For sure. Yeah, it's and you know what, David, also what's happening is interesting is how it is referred, the reference to all of that in North America and Europe, which a lot of it is different and it's kind of weird. It's like why aren't we using the same, the same wording and the same, you know, I don't know. It's like here, how many people are mixed or are lost because they don't understand, you know. So there was a guy, the question was there. I was looking at a Facebook group, and a guy says, now I'm hearing 89.3 megahertz FM, but what's on 89.3 megahertz VHF? And it's like, well, it's the same thing. There is no two different 89.3. That's a frequency. It's just that in North America, we call it the FM band. So people are lost. They're like, well, so in North America, 89.3 FM and well, VHF 89.3, what's that? Well, it's the same thing. It's just that FM is a mode, VHF is a range, but it messes up people. It's like I got many people on the channel that are lost because we call the band in North America, we call it the AM band. What is medium wave in Europe is AM radio here. So the people come in and say, well, I want to listen to shortwave broadcasts. Well, how do I do that? Because I only seem to have AM. No, AM's a mode, and international broadcasters use AM mode. It's not a band, it's a mode. But the fact that we talk about it as if it's a band, it messes up some people. That they don't understand clearly what's the difference and why is there AM written on my radio when I'm on shortwave. I don't want to listen to the AM band. No, it doesn't have anything to do with the AM band. It's just a mode of transmission, but it mixes up a lot of people. Misses a lot of people. What else do we have? Yeah, it's sad that a lot of the DSP radios today have that muting when you tune. People that like tuning around, like I told a lot of people, it doesn't isn't much of a problem for me most of the time because I almost always just punch in frequencies. But I agree. Anybody that's just tuning around just to find signals, it's a darn big problem, unfortunately. Do you have a favorite shortwave radio station that has English broadcasts? I can't say I have a favorite station. I like any station that has English that I can listen to. So I'll hop to different programs. I particularly like when there's a couple of English language stations at the same time, because if the program on one is not what I find interesting, I can move on to another one. So say like earlier, I could listen to Voice of Turkey. If I don't like Voice of Turkey, what's the program that they're playing, I can always go to Radio Romania and see what's there. So there's things like that, but I don't have a favorite one. I like all stations. They all have their own way of giving out news and programming, and I like them all basically. What happens on shortwave stays on shortwave. Exactly, Block or Die. Massive can. I've been looking for a well-balanced combination radio with AM, FM, and shortwave. I was looking at the CC Crane radios, but they seem to be overpriced. Can you recommend a good radio? It depends what you're looking for. If single sideband is important or not, And if tuning around without having muting is important, then you could have a nice mix and a radio that's less expensive, but it is really good, like in the Texan PL 680. That is one of the last analog PLL that's still there. That could be a nice choice. It's less expensive than the C Crane. It's a very beautiful, nice radio. That could be nice. It has airband, VHF airband too. So that could be interesting, and single sideband. Or you could go to a little more expensive and like look at a Texan PL 880, which will give you roughly the same price of a C Crane, but with better audio. Yet they don't have VHF airband. I think the C Crane does. It really depends on what you're searching for. If FMRDS is important, then you might want to check out something like the CNG and ATS 909 X2. Then it has its own problems with low single sideband audio. So there's a lot of choices. If you don't tune around a lot and you don't care about the muting when it tunes with the tuning knob, then you got great radios in like the Texan PL 330 or the XH Data D808. XH Data D808 has RDS, has airband. It's pretty cool. It's a great radio, very sensitive. Costs you less than a C Crane once again. I do also find the C Crane to be a little too expensive, but depends what you want and where you want to get, what stations you want to, what radio you want to buy, what brand. Some people will buy C Cranes, some people would like their C Cranes, and it's fine. I mean, it's not a bad radio. Yeah, broadcast band. No, Radio Kiev is gone, I think. I'm not sure it's still on this. Like your Voice of Radio Ukraine is still on WRMI. I haven't heard it. James Gilbert, nice to have you here. Ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you here from Melbourne, Australia. And it's a very beautiful day in Montreal. It's a summer day. We're at 80, around 80-ish Fahrenheit, 27, 28, 27 Celsius. David says, yeah, here in Europe, we're always used medium wave, but on the other hand, 87 to 108 has always been popularly known as FM. I guess because it's the only segment FM broadcasting actually happens on. Yeah. John McClure, nice to have you here. Yeah. Picture in AM, sound in FM. And those buzzing. I remember, when the old CRTs with TV with that famous, what was the crystal frequency, 3.581, something like that. And you can actually sometimes on some TV hear the harmonics of that buzzing frequency on shortwave with some TVs. Oh man, that TV crystal that was so popular back then. Here I was always going crazy because we had Channel 2 CBC French. And when you bought a computer back in the day, they all came with a modulator that you plugged into the TV. And, you had that little switch with the screws that you'd screw in the two terminals on the TV in the back of the TV. And I hate it because on some TVs that weren't that great, where the tuner wasn't good, even if I put it on channel 3 to get the computer, there was always these weavy lines because channel 2 would interfere with it. In my opinion, generally, is DSP or analog PLL better for handling a high oscillate noise floor? I don't think there's necessarily one better than the other if it's well done. It's more a question of how good quality the circuit is more than anything else. Massinican says, I may need to get a couple of radios. Thank you. Yeah, Michael, remember 2 megahertz marine telephone in San Pedro and Avalon? Yeah, and I remember those marine telephones. We could hear all these international conversations. Pretty crazy. What kind of shows do you like to listen to? I like shows that on many stations. I like shows that bring their history forward, like Radio Romania. I love there's every time they have that show that talks about Romania in the communist era. It's super interesting. I like shows that talk about life, culture, and all of that in their countries. I've always been a big fan of news that is given out by different broadcasters because you have also sometimes a different viewpoint, and you put all of that together and gives you a kind of a broader picture of things that you might not have thought of. And it's like, huh, okay, they are thinking about this in that way. And it's different from my viewpoint or the viewpoint of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation or so on. I'm not a big fan of music, except there's exceptions to the rule. Like I like when Brazil, Radio Nacional Amazonas 11780, has their Brazilian music, kind of beautiful. I like that. But for the most part, I like mostly spoken stuff and anything that will give me news on the country, life in the country, and all sorts of facts, and of course, news. Kevin, feeling better. Cool. Happy for you, man. It's not fun being sick. Kind of want to a desire to eat. Yeah, take it time because it's not necessarily something that you want to do right now. Let your stomach get better before you eat anything. Yeah, there was 6250. That frequency does ring a bell. Trying to remember. Michel Colette, salut. Nice to have you on board. VA2CO, Mike in Labby. Pretty cool. RJ Dakota, and you could hear it when someone changed the channel. Yeah. 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 Oh, man. That was like my biggest nightmare. My biggest nightmare was my neighbor downstairs buying a 26-inch Sony television in 1984. And that was my first introduction to hell. Every time they turn on the TV, I'd have buzzing at regular intervals. One of them, the most annoying of it, was right smack on Radio Australia 17795 in the evening. As long as the TV was on, forget it. 17795, which was one of the best frequencies in the evening at that time, was just impossible. And I turned on the radio for Radio Australia around 11 p.m. because they worked in the morning, and I had kind of learned that 11 p.m. ish is when they shut down the TV, and after that, I'll be happy and listen to what I want. But that was my first introduction into interference caused by a device, actually. And then it just came worse, and I would not even be complaining about that interference today if that was the only thing that I hear. Oh, man. Keegan, I could hear the 60 hertz hum on a few medium wave frequencies from a tube TV. Kim McCuzzy says, I remember those switch boxes. Oh, the memories. Yep. Famous switch boxes. Trying to get, a perfect picture was almost impossible. Man. Yeah, in Europe, your ACM is 50. Definitely. It's different. James Farley says, have you tried out that FT8CN app for Android yet? It's wonderful. I didn't. No, I need to check it out. Kevin says, Glenn Hauser, very good on 94.75. Strong signal. Let's check it out. Yeah. Glenn Hauser on 94.75. With a recording. So it's pretty strong, 94.75, which I believe is WWCR frequency, right? 94.75. No, it's not WWCR. 94.75 is because they're not. Glenn Hauser's not on WWCR. It's 94.75. It's WTWW, Lebanon, Tennessee. Okay. Because he's banned from Glenn Hauser is banned from WWCR. He said something bad about one of the preachers that is on WWCR, and WWCR didn't like it, and they took out all Glenn Hauser's World of Radios after that. So Glenn Hauser's World of Radio, a great show, by the way. I always like that. And he packs a lot of information on that show. King of the Extra Channel 2 was usually NBC from KJRH, just some heavy co-channel interference on occasion. Yeah, definitely. Mike WX50. International broadcasting is like going to online class for learning about cultures. Even today, it's, there's less, but even today, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's I don't recall that that Glenn Hauser broadcast on 94.75 of WTWW. So it's pretty cool. Craig Martinetti likes listening to music from different countries, like the Mailback program from years ago. Mailback programs are fun. I like to. I remember my first Mailback program I've heard ever was on WYFR back in 82, 3. I think my first reception report was done listening to WYFR's Mailback show on Sundays. And I found that fantastic because the Mailback show actually told me that I wasn't alone doing this weird hobby. So whatever happened to Brother Stare? Well, Brother Stare himself is dead, but the Overcomer Ministry is still well on a lot of frequencies on shortwave. You still hear them all over the place. Talking about that, I have the impression, and it came to mind because I was tuning the bands, seeing what's out there, came across what was a moaning session on the Overcomer Ministry, and when it came back to voice, I swear that I had the impression of hearing an AI voice, not a real person talking. It sounded just, I could be wrong, but the preaching seemed to be done with an AI driven component in it. So I don't know. RGA Dakota, I enjoyed listening to Tahiti, Radio Tahiti back in the 70s. Yeah. Yeah, there is a relay from Bulgaria of radio of Rudder Stare, but there's quite a lot of. He's still on WWCR in quite heavy rotation, and on WRMI and WBCQ. So yeah, no, it's not his voice. So they could have, Jasmine, they could have. That would have been interesting if they cloned an AI Brother Stare voice, but it is and does sound like an AI voice, not a real person when the preaching goes on. So it's kind of AI Brother Scare. Yeah. It's, I don't know. I don't know. Jerry Hart used to get a station from Colorado on TV in New York with eSkip. Yeah. I used to get channel 3, no, channel 4 from Alabama on some, it was eSkip in the summertime. Yeah, because you mentioned it, Jasmine. If I hear AI Brother Stare on the bands everywhere starting next week, you're responsible. You're the one that brought it up. Yeah, it was Dothan, Alabama, Keegan the Xer. I remember the first time I ever got that, I was wondering what was that station that was coming in really clearly. There was no local station on channel 4. And you know what? It 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 was just crazy to see. There was I think it was Jeopardy that was playing. And when they were about to ID, I remember the first time I was all excited. We were at the top of the hour. Just, okay, I'm going to ID. I'm going to know what I'm listening to or I'm watching on TV. It was a black and white TV. And there was a deep fade exactly at the top of the hour when they announced what station it was. And then it came back like at, 1 minute after. I had to listen to another 30 minutes in order to have an idea of what station it was. But finally, the next 30 minutes at the bottom of the hour, I got the clear idea of that station in Alabama. I was like jumping up and down in my kitchen. It's like, wow, first time I see a TV station from so far away. Yeah, I'd rather scare. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Swatcat says what would be very scary is someone with an AI voice of Jill. That'll happen someday. Somebody will scoop up all the voices on YouTube of everybody, and it's just going to be, it's like, everybody's like, no. Oh, you're in Dothan, KM4OOS? Yeah. That's what I miss from the good old analog days, just scanning for skip. My WX50, please delete chat transcript after the show. Oh, God. RJ Dakota Brother Stare is on almost all day on WEW 770, medium wave in St. Louis. Oh, God. James Farley, Radio 48 is a pirate on 6880. And if you look at the waterfall, it probably will be interesting, any waterfall, because probably relayed by Radio Mix International. Jerry Hart, WEDU, Florida, here in New York, was a regular. Kev Michael, KCNC in Denver, Colorado, an NBC station. So 6880. So pirate on 6880. KW1161. The DXers cursed. The big fade. Yeah. It was like, oh God, it's at to fade at the top of the hour. I was like all excited and suddenly, oh, God, no, I have to continue watching. Yes, there are lurkers all over the world. Definitely. So what else do we have? Dwayne says, anyone heard the station on 26845? It has no station ID that I have heard. Got there a couple of times. I didn't know was 11-meter guy or what. There's a good chance. Some guys just do all sorts of things on the 11-meter band. So it could be some CB or some guy just having fun with his radio. Talking about radio, the CB radio, I had a very interesting moment 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, on a Friday evening. So I was bored. I didn't feel like turning on shortwave, and I was thinking, what could I do? It was a beautiful night. I wanted to be outside on the balcony, and I had a flash. Oh, I haven't used my CB radio in a long time. My Uniden Bearcat 980 SSB. And of course, there's a mobile antenna that's already on the metal shed in the back. So I thought, oh, let's bring that thing out, plug it in, see what's on the band, see if anybody's on the CB band at midnight on a Friday. Behold, channel 20 upper sideband. A bunch of guys are talking. And I'm like, wow, look at that. They're a bunch of guys. They're not very strong. So I don't know where they are. And so I decided to do like breaker 20 and try to see if they hear me. And it took about a minute. And some guy said, hey, there was a breaker 20 in the background. Go ahead. So I tell them that I'm, we're at my position in Montreal and everything. It turns out they're in a place called Saint-Lin and the Laurentians, which is, maybe like 40 miles away. And I'm like, wow, I'm making it all the way there with my CB radio. And what I thought was a crappy antenna, probably still is, but not as crappy as finally I thought. And I ended up talking with these guys for like 2 hours until like 2 a.m. and I had a lot of fun. And they have a group, actually. They have their own Channel 20 group, which is a French language group of CBers. And they're like really well equipped with these fancy antennas and, of course, illegal power. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I was like, man, I haven't had a blast with my CB radio in such a long time. So, if you guys think CB's dead, try to listen from time to time. You'd be surprised what you can get. These guys are there every Friday night, all the time. And so it's like, wow, this is so cool. So really, really, it was a lot of fun. Honestly, what a cool, when you're bored, it's like, well, what a cool end to this Friday evening, really, really nice. Is Radio Relage still on the air in some form, either medium wave or shortwave? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Old school CB radio, 980 SSB, a fine radio. Oh, definitely love it. Love it. Now I need to find details. So when I talked with them, they told me I was about 25 hertz slow. And I do believe what they're saying because they were really well equipped with ham gear. So it made me think, is there a way to calibrate the 980 SSB? There must be, because I'd like to put it really, flat on the frequency here. Swatcats, what truly gets me when I listen to ham station, that station comes in loud and clear, but when I make contact with the station, I hardly hear that station. It drives me nuts. Yeah. The propagation sometimes is just crazy. Yeah, they were on 4832 back in the day, which was a strange frequency. But I don't know if they're still on. So it's a pretty good distance, yeah, for my little, CB radio. I thought it was kind of cool. It was really, really nice. Yeah, no, it's like, this is a mobile CB, so it's like I have to, I guess, find a way to tune it to maybe, I haven't checked. You can call me Al. Anybody tune into Voice of the Report of the Week on 5950 right now? 5950. I haven't heard that, John, in such a long time. Almost not a very weak signal here. It's too early for 5950. I had not heard VORW in such a long time. I have the impression he cut back a lot on his transmissions on shortwave. So, anyways, I'll have to check out how I can, accurately tune the SSB, because I was, it's not terribly off, but it's enough to notice. And I guess there must be a way. I'll have to check. Maybe some guy on YouTube has a video about it, which is the fun part of YouTube. There's always a guy that does something about it. So, hey guys, we've been on for almost 3 hours and 30 minutes. I want to eat, and I need to cook my food, and then I need to edit the International Radio Report and do a lot of stuff, and also finish my column for the Messenger, which means I have a lot of work. So I want to thank you guys for being here. The next live show is going to be on July 6th at 20 hours UTC. If you contribute or have contributed to the channel, remember that with the super chat here or via a PayPal donation, you are going to be invited to the Zoom meeting for contributors that is coming up on June 15th. June 15th. So Zoom on June 15th, 24 at 20 UTC. And of course, you'll receive an email a couple of days before. So thanks everybody for being here. It was a lot of fun. Goes fast, goes really fast. And I want you guys to take care, have some fun with summer listening. Get your radios outside, guys. Get your radios outside. It's really important if you want to have a lot of fun. It's summertime. Enjoy the beautiful weather, and just make sure that you check it out. So there was a request for something here, and let's check it out here if I can do this quickly here. And almost nights. So take care, guys. So Penny, see, that's Moscow Nights. That used to be on Radio Moscow back in the 80s, early 90s, often just before the news at the top of the hour. Stay safe. Love you all.